Hey everyone, so I'm about to give you a huge monologue about a really large number of topics happening right now within World of Warcraft Classic. Number one, I'm doing this because I enjoy doing monologues for you guys. You know, you do ask for them relatively frequently, and I don't deliver as often as I probably would like to. They do take a bit out of me, and, you know, when you sit down and talk alone for even just an hour, like let alone 90 minutes or whatever, it takes a bit out of you, but they're fun to do. But reason number two, and probably the most important reason, is I really felt the need to make this up to you guys. You know, there are thousands of you guys around the world that listen to the show and that have listened to the show for years. You know, you tune in every episode, whether it's every week or two. For 6.5 years, you've been with me. And I can't thank you enough for, you know, continuing to stick with the show. The show, I can look you square in the eye and say the show would not exist if you weren't tuning in. You know, I wouldn't be doing this for the love of the game after 6.5 fucking years. I can assure you of that much. You know, there's definitely times where I've been tired and I've wanted to stop the show. But like, you guys keep tuning in because you genuinely enjoy the content, and that you know, makes me feel good, quite frankly. So you keep going, and I do this stuff for you. But I fucked up massively the other day. I have always had a bit of a rule with the show where it's like, don't play the game when you're recording, because I don't know how you guys are, but, you know, my wife gives me shit about this all the time. I'm really, really bad at multitasking. You know, even beyond the meme of guys not being able to multitask. Like, it's a bit of a meme. I know plenty of guys that can multitask, but I struggle. I really do struggle. And I did a recording over the weekend with, you know, half a dozen callers or whatever, usual countdown call. And I was trying to level and PvP in game while doing that recording. And everyone else was great except for me. I was awful. I was embarrassing. It was pretty fucked up. And, you know, you just a lot of 10 to 15 second silences when normally I would take the conversation to the next point. But I'm like, oh, sorry guys, I've just got to kill this guy. And I just stopped to PvP someone, and, you know, nobody said anything, but it would have been fair to say like, hey Josh, you're being a dickhead. Like, can you just do the podcast? So I feel really, really bad about that. And I know that nobody on that call probably was as offended as I am with myself. I'm historically incredibly hard on myself. The self-flagellation is out of control. I'd hold myself to a very high standard, particularly with this show, my baby, and you guys deserve better. So that's why I'm sitting here now, hoping to give you the mother of all monologues. And I will do my best to give you, you know, I'll carry as much as I can to give you the kind of content that you know, have come to expect from this show. So I've got a shitload of points. I spent half an hour writing down a bit of a list, putting them in order, and we'll get through this one by one. But I'm so happy as well to have my friend Marcus riding shotgun along with me. Now, he's just going to listen in, but he will pipe up if I say something controversial or that he wants to build on or anything like that. So I've got the Andy Richter to my Conan O'Brien. Marcus, mate, thank you so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Honoured to take part in one of these world famous, I should say, monologues.
World famous monologue. Yeah, we shall see. All right. Let's start up. Look, guys, I'm going to start off rather floaty and easy on the simple stuff that's not controversial. Trust me, there's a lot of controversial points coming up, and I'm going to be giving you my heart on a sleeve thoughts. You know, you guys got back to me with feedback about the last episode. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit shocked that there wasn't more negative feedback. I was sort of bracing for the like, oh my God, Josh, what's wrong with you? After all these years covering WoW Classic, you've become this unhinged weirdo. I'm just going to kill a mosquito. No, I missed it. Marcus, I missed it. Fuck. These huge dinosaurs.
Back on with the PvP already, guys.
These dinosaur. I was laughing with Marcus because this state where I've moved to has these huge dinosaur mosquitoes, and you see them like coming for you like a fucking shark. And oh my God. Anyway, if I see it again, I'll go for it during this recording. So you'll just hear me clapping at times. But I do have some pretty heartfelt takes on some controversial issues about Classic. And that's why I sort of titled the stream, we need to talk about Classic ... Because there's going to be some things that some of you aren't going to want to hear in this recording, quite frankly. And I've never in my life noticed more of a division within the Classic community. We also always had this kind of lame Classic versus retail war / not war going on for the first couple of years of Classic's existence. Then it dissipated. Now we've kind of got a civil war going on within the Classic community, and it really has, and I'm not trying to be dramatic or make a mountain out of a molehill, but like you do see it on the subreddit of the people with the point of view that, we should be playing this one version of the game, and anything that comes out from here should just really not deviate too far from this path. And then you've got other people going like, actually, maybe time has passed this version of the game by, and we need to get a little bit more exotic with this base version of the game that we all do love in order for this franchise to continue to succeed. So you just see that sort of, it's not like wild, but you do still see those two predominant points of view clashing at times when people talk about World of Warcraft Classic. So I'll get to the points of view in a little bit that might sort of make people a bit upset, particularly considering how this show started and, how I made my bones. I'm not going to be fucking shy about that, I started this show based on a pure love of 1.12, excitement for World of Warcraft Classic in 2019, and the amount that I've played this game over the last few years, along with all of you, it's obvious to say that thoughts evolve. Okay, so don't get too worried, you 1.12 enjoyers. I'm not going to like savage you, but I've got some hard truths coming, quite frankly. But that's just my point of view, and usually this is a show where my point of view doesn't fucking matter. So throw it in the bin if you don't like what you hear. What does it matter? I'm just one dickhead in Australia. It literally doesn't count. Anyway. Let's start with the easy stuff first and just talk about what I've seen on this Classic Fresh server. What I've done, what I've felt, what I've laughed about, what I've cried about, and we'll have a bit of an easy story retelling before I get into the larger issues. So you guys know I announced on the show, the big baby gender reveal. I've gone, it's a warlock. And I started my Warlock on day one. I'm playing on Night Slayer. A lot of you come into the stream and you say, Josh, what server are you on? What's doing? Where are you? Who are you with? We don't know. Tell us. I went on Night Slayer. It's the North American PvP server. I have fucking zero regrets about rolling on this server. I think it's populated. There are people fucking doing everything everywhere. It's great. Don't care about the ping. My ping is 222. Don't give a fuck. Have barely noticed it. It's fine. Did my Warlock and got to level 20 by, day 2 or whatever. And I was enjoying the Warlock. I was. But I would stop short of saying I was loving it. Right? Now, I've dabbled. It's not like I've never played a Warlock before, guys. Some of you who know me well know I got almost every class to 60 in 2019. But, I'm a different player now than I was then. I PvP far, far, far more now than I did in 2019. I really didn't PvP on that 2019 server. I didn't pick up PvP until mid TBC in 2020, the start of 22, I want to say, is when I actually started PvPing and getting, semi-serious and having fun with it. So I see the game through such a different lens now. And I sat down with this Warlock and I'm sitting there, going through the teens with my corruption, my curse of agony, dealing with, doing the life tap dance and all that shit, and the pet management and the triangle with the imp. I know how to play the class. Set your fucking triangle up, get the aggro over to the imp. Oh, I'll pull it off him now and we'll do the wand dance and all that shit, and multi-target dots everywhere. I know how to fucking play a Warlock. But it wasn't so much about I can't play this class or I'm not playing it well enough. It was more like I'm sitting there the whole time going, I know I could be enjoying this game more if I were playing a different class. There is nothing wrong with Warlocks. Warlocks are a lot of fun. But, you know, if this server has taught me anything, it's how important class fantasy is, and more importantly, your connection to certain class fantasies. This game is such a beautiful game in that we often sort of sit there and go, oh, you know, vanilla WoW, it's only got 9 classes, you know, but you can only choose from 8, you know, per faction or whatever. It's only got 8 classes that you can choose from. You know, it's not that wild of a choice. Look at retail over there with its, you know, 13 classes. Which is, I always think it's funny. And I was just saying to Patricia the other day, she saw that retail had 13 classes and she goes, hasn't WoW been out for 20 years? And I go, yeah. And she's like, didn't they start with 9? And I go, yeah. And she's like, so you're fucking telling me they've added 4 classes in 20 years? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, that's lame. And I go, oh yeah, it kind of is. But nonetheless, Classic feels limited on choice to an extent. However, I think that what they did with those classes, fantasy-wise, was such incredible work. Like all of those classes. Oh, it's back, Marcus. Let's see if I can get it this time. Hang on. No! Fucking missed it. I'm the worst. Anyway. What they did with these classes, fantasy-wise, was impeccable work to the point that it divides everyone up, and for, you know, kind of warrior anomaly aside, and for your meta chasers over there, it will just split the player base 9 ways and go, well, you know, do you feel like a holy warrior? Then you probably might identify with the paladin. Do you feel like a sneaky bastard who wants to stab people in the back? Well, you might be interested in the rogue class. And people really, personality-wise, gravitate to what this class can do for them and how it allows them to deal with the sandbox. And, you know, I've definitely been guilty in the past of saying things like, and it's true to a certain extent, but saying things like, all the classes are the same at the end of the day, which they are mechanically. You have your builder, you have your spender, you have your buff button, you have this, you know, your heal, that kind of stuff. Oh, here's my button that I spam when I'm ramping, and here's what I hit when it's time to explode. Like, the classes mechanically at their very base level aren't that different. But it's the fantasy that differentiates everything, right? Even though I'm spamming a Sinister Strike on my rogue, while, you know, what's another class? A mage is spamming their Frostbolt. We're effectively doing the same thing. We are pressing one button as our main spell to damage an enemy, and they do more or less the same damage, if you know what I mean. But it's the fantasy that makes it feel different. I'm a mage. My Frostbolt goes out and yeah, it does the same damage as a fucking Sinister Strike. And if it doesn't, you know what I mean. But you know, I'm a Frost Mage and it slows my enemy and I will stay away from him and I am the master of the magical arts. And you get caught up in that stuff whether or not you're aware of it. And that's what pulls you towards a certain class choice. And that's what makes the game more or less fun. So I'm on this Warlock, and yeah, I've told you guys years ago on the show, I really identify, generally speaking, with, you know, the darker, more macabre classes, you know, your Warlocks, your Shadow Priests, you know, dark magic. That's so fucking metal and fantasy for me. That's what I want to play. And whilst I enjoyed the class fantasy side of the Warlock, the mechanics weren't quite doing it for me this time. I was like, I'm a bit sick of life tapping. I'm a bit sick of having to do the soul shard thing. I'm a bit sick of the pet management. There was, you know, the fantasy is great, but the gameplay wasn't there for me. So on day 2, I started noticing You know, you're doing your Whaling Caverns runs and everything, and all I'm seeing, you know, you join /4 looking for group channel, and all I'm seeing is tank, tank, need tank, 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 tank. God, we need a tank. We'll do anything for tank. Meet me behind Whaling Caverns for, you know, fucking what I'll do for you as a tank if you come to my group. Everywhere. And the tale as old as time. This is not news to anyone. We all knew this was coming. There's a tank shortage, right? It's only fucking two. I joked about this on stream the other day. There's only 2 tanks in the game. Sorry, Paladins. Yes, we all know that you can do an admirable job if, you know, the situation is right and the sun rose at the right time and everything came up perfect for you, and you've got your engineering and your grenades, and the group lets you have your 2 seconds to let you consecrate tick a couple of times. Yes, you're totally a viable tank, Paladins. Now sit down so that we can laugh at you a little bit, because there's druids and warriors, and let's be real, that's kind of it in vanilla. There's 2 classes that can tank, and, you know, there's fucking 6 that can't and 1 that thinks they can. So it's vanilla's such an oddity in that the tank shortage that's there in every MMO we play, and I'll talk about this in a second, but it's so much more pronounced in vanilla. You know, and I've gone down some really interesting rabbit holes about the tank shortage in the last few days. Some really, really good comments on the subreddit about the reasons why not just WoW, but MMOs in general have issues with getting people to sign up to tank. And it's all the usual true stuff, you know. The tanking role is so much more than just hitting different abilities in a video game. It requires so much on the user, personality-wise, IRL, that it scares so many people off. You need to somewhat be a leader, you know, just a little bit. You need to choose the path. You kind of almost need to know the mobs. You need to, you know, if preferable, mark things. You need to stop and wait for your healer when they've got mana. Like, you are the general. You have to be aware of fucking everything. And most players don't like this because they want to play the game with their brains turned off, which is fine. I'm not shaming anyone for wanting to fucking smoke a bone and watch Netflix on the second screen while they spam one button in Classic and get through a dungeon, whatever. You know, but like, you know, as long as you're pressing your buttons, don't trigger me on that one. Just press your fucking buttons and I don't care. But if you're not pressing your buttons, then we've got a different issue. But my point is, the tanking responsibility, even if minimal, the fact that it's just more responsibility than everyone else pisses off or turns off the majority of the player base. And that's totally understandable. And, you know, you see things like, how can we fix the tank shortage? Oh, well, create more tanks. As many people have pointed out, literally retail did it. So many more tanking options in that game, and they still have a tank shortage. So it ain't that. It ain't just you know, do the downpour of tanking options and then everyone will naturally want to tank. No, that is not the answer. So then what else did they do? Well, WoW eventually changed the very nature of tanking. They moved it from a threat-based, you know, acquisition game to a survival game. You know, now you don't have to worry. You know, you press one button, now everything will stick to you threat-wise. So you don't have to worry about threat anymore, gamers. But what you do have to worry about is hitting the right cooldowns at the right time and surviving. Well, turns out that was a bit of a turn-off as well, and players don't like wiping their dungeon or wiping their raid because, again, they're high or drunk and missed the global where they were supposed to hit their shield wall and everything went to shit because of it. It's too much responsibility. So it's one of those great things where we get to say here, well, where do we go in gaming to move forward and somehow get this, you know, trinity of roles still being equally appealing to everyone? You know, do you break down the trinity? Do you redesign the trinity? How do you do it? And that's kind of where the conversation ends to a certain point, because most people don't have a solution. And at the end of the day, we're not the ones who are paid to come up with a solution. We're not game designers. And, you know, people can have fun and nerd out and try and write up their own solution online, but we're ultimately beholden to the people who do this professionally. And, you know, maybe the next big game will solve this issue. Who knows? But the point is that for now, it is an issue. And it's never been more evident than it is right now on this Classic Fresh server. Now, I know a lot of you, 1.12 enjoyers and regular vanilla gamers want to say, Josh, blowing it out of proportion, vanilla World of Warcraft does not need tanks. You can go in with 4 DPS and a healer, and everyone shares the damage, and it's all good. Nobody gives a fuck. La-di-da, tanks be damned, we'll get this content done. And you are correct. I'm with you. Yes, absolutely 4 DPS classes can go into a dungeon and just fucking go ham. Share the damage. It doesn't matter. You don't need one tank soaking up the damage of 4 to 5 mobs. 2 can be on that guy, 1 can be on that guy, and 1 can be on that guy, and you'll fucking get it done. It's an incredibly simple game. And we'll get to the difficulty of vanilla World of Warcraft very soon. But this game, World of Warcraft, has literally never been easier than it was at the vanilla base level. MMOs in general have never been easier, more simplistic, more brain dead than vanilla World of Warcraft. Yes, you will get the content done without a tank to a certain point. Like, I think once you obviously get to the level 60 dungeons, I don't want to be running a Skullomance or a Stratholm without a tank. So that's a bit of a separate issue. But on the leveling journey, sure, let's go nuts. Now, bringing it back to how this involved me and my Warlock. I was seeing the spam of looking for tank. And, I tanked in hardcore WoW. I got my warrior from 1 to 60. I dungeoned much of the way to 60. I really enjoyed my little prot warrior. And, sword and board in hand, taking it super conservatively because it's hardcore, sundering left, right, and center, revenging left, right, and center. I really liked it. And I went, you know what? Fuck it. It's not like I don't like tanking. I know I have more fun in this game being a melee character. I've said many times on the podcast, casters just aren't me anymore for the most part. It's funny that I started out all caster in 2019. Oh, there it is. Is it coming to me, Marcus? No, it's sitting in the corner. I'll let it be. Oh, actually, give me...
Fight him.
Fight him. Where is he?
Yep, send.
Oh, he's gone back into stealth, the bastard. I can't find him now. Anyway, so it's not like I don't like vanilla WoW tanking. It's not like I don't like warrior. And I'm sitting there on this warlock going, I would be having so much more fun just getting instant invites to dungeon runs, playing a melee class that I fucking like, playing a melee class that's fucking fantastic in this game. That was one of my original choices anyway. I told you guys it's rogue, warlock, or warrior. Those were the only 3 classes I was considering for this Classic Fresh. And I was just sat there and I dinged 20 and I said, I asked myself, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I trying to make this class fun as opposed to just playing one that I know is fun? I have knowledge of classes that I know I'll be like a pig in shit with this game. Stop, it was cute that we all said this, I'm going to try something different this time round. See the game through a different lens. And if that's you, that's great. As long as you're enjoying the class that you're seeing the game through new eyes with. But a funny thing happened. When I decided to change on day 2 or 3, whatever it was, and I said, boys, I'm so sorry to do this to you, but I'll catch up. I'm re-rolling warrior. A funny thing happened where a lot of fucking people started to do the same thing. Not necessarily re-roll warrior, but just re-roll in general. And as I saw more and more Reddit posts get made and more of my friends in voice chat saying, yeah, I've re-rolled too, and seeing more alts join the guild and all of this shit on day fucking 3, right? Day 2 or day 3. It hit me. And I mentioned this in the the broken podcast recording from a couple of days ago that I'll just release. Well, I'll ask Marcus, do you think I should release that call from the other day at the tail end of this podcast, or send it to the garbage and just leave it to the patrons as an exclusive thing?
Man, I wasn't in there, but like I hear it was pretty rough. So to save yourself the self-flagellation,
Just bin it. Just give it to the patrons, the psychopaths, the patrons who need content regardless of the quality.
yeah,
All right. Well, I won't publish that one on the show. I'll just leave it to the patrons. But anyway, I mentioned on that call what I have coined as the icky meta. ICQY, icky. What is the icky meta? The icky meta that hit this classic fresh server around about day 2 or 3 is the I can't quit you meta, where a lot of players sat down and they got their Brokeback Mountain on and they looked their favorite class in the eye lovingly and said, I can't quit you. I'm coming back to you. And, you know, do what makes this game fun. You're not a bad person for playing the same class 6 fucking times on 6 different servers. You know what I mean? If you like a class, you like a class. But like I'm sort of saying, obviously any decision you want to make is fine. If you want to see this game on a new class, do it. But please ensure that you're having fun. If you rolled Rogue for the first time and you've never played Rogue and you're like, oh, I'm going to experience, world PvP from a Rogue's perspective for once. But if you're shit at it, you're getting your ass kicked, you don't like it, you don't understand how stealth works, and you're just struggling in general, and you're sort of sitting there going, just fucking re-roll. Just play what you like at the end of the day. This game's about having fun. And so I jumped on my warrior, and like I just the smile on my face as I zoomed around, and it's funny because Twitch chat was saying to me like, oh my God, I fucking hate warrior in the lower levels. It's just like get to 60 as quick as possible, or at least get to 40 for your mortal strike. Like these lower levels are a fucking punish. Oh my God, Josh, you must be hating this. And I was like, mate, I fucking love this. Are you kidding me? I love low level warrior. Because there are certain classes that click with people where it feels good killing things, and I don't want to stop killing things. Yeah, I've finished the quest, but I'm going to kill everything here regardless because it's fun to kill things. And okay, I don't really have a rotation right now because I've got 2.5 buttons, but for whatever reason, the dopamine that hits when my sword hits that thing with a heroic strike, or I drop a rend or whatever, just feels good and does the thing for my brain that it should do. So I have no regrets whatsoever over following the icky meta. Let me know if you jumped on the icky train, already as well. But, well, I just say one thing. If I can get you in at this point, Marcus, and just say, you've rolled a shaman for the first time. Have you been tempted by the icky meta?
not to ditch the shaman as my main. I'm a mage player. I've played mage for a very, very long time. I love the class. It really speaks to me, but I think shaman still speaks to me in similar ways now that I've really taken to healing. However, right now, as you speak, I am working through Death Knell on a mage.
Oh, so, here we go.
I don't think it's the end of the shaman. I certainly don't think that, but it's to supplement the shaman, I think, in cash flow, as well as I just really love to play mage.
No, it's perfect.
Seeing Voodoo play and other mages I've played with in Scarlet Monastery, like the ninja type levels of acrobatics these guys pull off with these massive pulls of mobs and stuff, I kind of miss it.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. You've fallen victim to the icky meta. I love it. Mate, yeah, you're Jake Gyllenhaal staring at your Heath Ledger mage, and you've just dropped I Can't Quit You and run and embraced and kissed, and it's fucking beautiful. I love it. Guys, by the way, if I'm in all seriousness, if you have not seen Brokeback Mountain, fucking drop what you're doing and go and see it. It is an amazing movie. And if for whatever fucking reason you're a weirdo that has an issue with it being about gay cowboys, fucking get over it. It is a brilliant film. Anyway, moving right along. Along with the icky meta, we sort of started to take a look at the complexion of this server. And, who's playing what, how many people are there, what's going on, are people getting dungeons, are there any classes missing, is there PvP happening, all of this shit. I posed the question on this podcast, going, I'm really interested to see where things will be in 6 months. And I'll maybe get to this conversation a little bit later on, but I'll just say, it's amazing that we've got, a mostly vanilla server out there. I know the 1.12 guys want to jump up and down and go, this isn't fucking vanilla, it's not my vanilla, it's not even real vanilla, it's not no changes. We'll get to all of that, but you know what I mean for the most part. But I will say that I feel like if you've got the old Nova World buffs out there, this isn't... Settle down, everyone. I know you guys get funny about dooming. I'm not dooming. I'm just, saying what I'm seeing. And I'm not telling people to fucking stop playing this server. I'm playing the shit out of it. I encourage people to play the shit out of it. Go have fun. But I did see notably fewer layers on weekend 2 as opposed to weekend 1. Which, is always going to happen on any server. You get a lot of the tourists, the looky-loos who go in and get a class to 10 and then fuck off. Yubi was saying one of his best mates jumped in who never plays WoW and was like, oh, I've heard about this classic fresh server, and he jumps on, gets a class to level 7, logs off and never plays again. Those players are a dime a dozen. So that's part of the reason why you get things like, oh, there were 10 to 12 layers on the first weekend and now there's 7 layers on the second weekend and shit like that. I'm not overly concerned because I think the player base will consolidate to, at least on Night Slayer I'm talking about. This player base is going to consolidate to a relatively solid base. But I think, the life cycle of vanilla servers these days follow a certain trajectory, and this will only continue to go down. It just has to settle at a manageable level. But we'll get there. We'll get there soon. I'm sort of jumping the gun a little bit. But, there are players everywhere. This server was a great start. There's people everywhere, running dungeons everywhere, layers galore. It's a lot of good fun. As so many people jumped into the game and people were excited about Vanilla WoW again, we also saw the comeback of things like great WoW memes. And you guys have seen, no doubt, over at the subreddit. If you don't visit the subreddit, I encourage you to visit the subreddit. It has taken a much more positive turn over the last couple of weeks, and it's been great to see. People are excited to play again, and we're just being dumb and sharing stupid memes and all that shit. But one of the best of recent times, sort of caught as much, if not more fire than the old Thex meme from 2019, was this gift that keeps giving of being committed to DPS. If you guys aren't aware of this, basically a player shared their interaction via whispers with another player, another warrior in the game. And warriors have kind of become, they love being the focus of the game at all times, but they really have become the early focus of this vanilla fresh server via a few... I don't want to call them observations because it's always been a part of the game, what's been happening. It's just that people are kind of talking about it more now, given that it is a fresh server. But there's been an issue with, like I said, the tank shortage. But then, people not wanting to play tank when their group has been searching for a tank for a considerable amount of time. The scenarios where you've got the 2 warriors in the group, the rogue and the priest, and you're spamming LFG for need tank, need tank, need tank. And 10 to 15 minutes has passed, and the priest and the rogue turn to the 2 warriors and go, guys, hey, just throwing this out there, could one of you possibly just run this dungeon by running up front, taking some aggro, hitting taunt every now and again, and just doing normal warrior things, and we'll call you a tank, so that we can just get another DPS player and fill this group immediately and start this fucking run? And many warriors are looking that player squaring the monocle and saying nay. And this has been a large point of contention within, and look, to be honest with you, it's a very sticky issue. I feel very strongly about it, which you'll hear my point very soon, but I just want to preface this by saying this is a very, very complicated issue because ultimately it comes down to telling people what to do to a certain extent. It really does. And whilst I vigorously disagree and I toxically disagree with a lot of the points of people kind of standing up for the warrior who refuses to tank under any circumstances whatsoever, I see your point at times, but you just start to lose me at a certain early juncture, and I'll get to that now. So this meme came up where these two players were talking and the interaction that I just described basically happened, where these guys were like, hey, would you consider tanking this dungeon? And I'm probably being, more kind to what was actually said. I can't remember. I don't think they included what was actually said, but we just got to the funny part of the conversation in the screenshot. They're saying to this warrior, can you tank this dungeon? And I think it might have even been a warrior-to-warrior conversation. I can't remember, which makes it a bit stickier. But basically, Mr. Warrior, would you consider tanking this dungeon? And he turns to that player and says, no, you see, the difference between you and me is that I'm committed to DPS. And that one line just took the world by storm. It's a very funny line. Given the full context of the situation, where you wave away sort of any change or deviation from the DPS path for 15 minutes because you are committed to DPS. But it's a larger indication. Sorry, it's a small indication of a larger issue. And the memes have been brilliant. They're flowing everywhere about the being committed to DPS. And we joked that it'll be, if not already, it will be old very soon and not funny. I've probably just murdered the fucking humor in this situation by overanalyzing it right now. But it's a larger issue that it brings up. And it is like, to what extent do we go requesting players to do things they don't want to do in an MMO? If you are a class that could heal, that could tank, that could DPS, but you want to do something else, where do we go as players humbly requesting that player take half an hour away from their main build and perform a different role so that a group can get content done? And as I say, it's a really hairy issue because I don't want to come across as an ogre and tell people that they get no agency with their class, with their fantasy, with how they want to play this game. Of course you do. But there has to be an element of practicality and group play and willingness to chase common goals and making sacrifices that you make to do that. That sort of gets thrown out the wayside by the people who say, you don't tell me what to do in this game, I pay my sub fee and I do whatever the fuck I want. Yes, you pay your sub fee, and yes, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But if you're the warrior in this scenario that's been waiting 15 minutes for a tank and you're refusing to run through a wailing caverns just by taunting things a few times, you can absolutely refuse to tank if you want. But what you'll be doing is you'll not be running that dungeon, and that's a choice you've made. And you say, oh, I'll run it eventually. I'll just wait 45 minutes for a tank. I mean, I'm being hyperbolic, but you know what I mean. You'll be waiting, and in the time that it took you to get one run, you could have done two if you wanted to do that. But it's more a shout. It's the selfish versus independence argument. Is a player being selfish by saying, I am not spending half an hour tanking or 45 minutes tanking this dungeon because, number one, there might be a lot of you are getting angry right now hearing this because you are the guys who refuse to tank. And there might be very viable reasons behind your decision. Number one, I have never tanked before. Number two, I have tanked before and I am a horrible tank, so I should not be doing it. Or number 3, my class fantasy is a DPS warrior, and I will not waver from that class fantasy under any circumstances, because that's not how I have framed my mind around this game. I am Zug Zug, the bloodthirsty DPS warrior. I don't throw on swords and shields and protect my party. That's not my guy. This is a fantasy role-playing game. I am playing the role of the guy that beats the fuck out of people with my sword, not protects my party. Totally understand. Okay, I totally get that. Those are all great reasons to say nay. To look these people in the eye and say, fuck off, I'm not tanking, because of reason 1, 2, or 3 right there that I just said. Here's the rub. This whole argument didn't start because of the warriors that join the group and immediately get, the group forms straight away. Hey, warrior, you're tanking. No, I'm fucking not. I never signed up for that. Well, just fucking do it. Shut up. We tell you how to play this game. That's not what's happening here. It's the niche but far from uncommon scenario of, we have been waiting for a tank and we just want to do this dungeon. We've been waiting for 15 minutes. Guys, we need to face up to reality here. We cannot find a tank because if you look at LFG chat right now, we are one of 45 groups looking for a tank. Now, I'm sorry, but none of you are fucking Henry Cavill or anything. We're not playing with any celebrities here. Our group does not stand out from the bunch. We have no pull. We have no sway. We have no Riz. There you go. Get that up, your Gen Y or Gen Z or Gen... What are they now, fucking Marcus? I don't know. Gen fucking Alpha or whatever.
They're just Zoomers and iPad kids, bro.
There you go. We have no way to stand out from this crowd, so we're going to be looking for a tank for some time. In order to skip that queue, would you consider doing your group of fellow adventurers here a massive solid? Be a bro and just like DPS as you would through this dungeon, but just kind of taunt every now and again? Are we asking too much? Because otherwise none of it... Yeah, sorry, you go, mate.
I met a guy who didn't make that choice. So pre-meme, I met a committed to DPS guy. I was the only person in the group that could cast healing spells. And he comes in last. Warrior comes in last and says, Shaman tank. No question mark. It was a statement. And I said, no, I'm the only one who can cast healing spells, man. Maybe you should press taunt every now and then. You won't have to do too much tanking. And then he said, so the hunter pet tanks. And off we went. I proceeded to tank the dungeon while healing with the MVP of the dungeon off tanking for me, the hunter pet claims.
I love that. And I love it. Because like I said, like the best part is he's looked at the character list in the dungeon, in the party, and like, I'm sure is quite aware, or there's no way he's not aware that, because if he knows that a shaman can tank, he also knows that you're the only prick in there with a heal. And he literally asked the healer, the only healer there, to tank. It's beyond a meme at this point.
Yeah, he never pressed taunt once the entire time.
Perfect. No notes. But it's... These players are everywhere, and it's the guys the committed to DPS guys are the warriors that are so ensconced in high performance in one of the easiest video games of all time that rubs their ego in such a way that they've deemed it to make them such better human beings than everyone else. And, flexing on... I've seen it already. Warriors flexing on DPS meters in SM. And it's like, are you fucking serious? These guys, they just follow the meta. They pump as a warrior in easy content and they let everyone know about it. But the second they get asked to do something that's not selfish, that maybe requires 2 brain cells in, taunting the mob that's hitting the healer and shit like that, nah, too much for them. And they get to hide behind the, nah, that's not my class fantasy. I'm fucking, I'm busy over here doing my thing. You don't pay my sub. It's bullshit in my mind. And this is where everyone's going to get angry who doesn't tank, because they say things like, oh, well, fuck you, Josh. You don't like to DPS as a warrior. What if I forced you to DPS in a fucking dungeon? Well, I did it the other day. And, Yubi and Voodoo have a big laugh about my sook in this one. But, a guild group got together and they were like, hey, Josh, we've got a 5th role here. Like, come along. And I've gone, oh, do you need a tank? And they've gone, oh, no, actually, we have a tank. But, we'd love you to come along and DPS it. And I said, oh, look, in all honesty, I don't like DPSing as a warrior. You will get a DPS player in 2.5 seconds. Just grab someone else and it's all good. I'll skip this one. Thanks, guys. Because I didn't want to DPS, right? Then comes the next part of the equation that separates this moment from the other that I described, and in my mind, absolves me from hypocrisy. Because what happened next was they go, well, we can just get in there and start now, and we kind of need you to DPS. We just want to start now and go with guild. Can we just do this? And that's when I've gone, sure, no worries. I fucking hate DPSing, but I will come to make this easier for you guys. You put what, for half an hour, put what you typically do aside, do what the group or the guild needs, and just fucking get in there and do it. I hated that run. I hit heroic strike once every fucking 7 seconds, order 3.3 swing, auto swing. Oh, now I've got enough rage for a heroic strike. Heroic strike. Wait 2 more swings. Heroic strike. Wait 2 more swings. Heroic strike. It's boring as batshit being a warrior in a Wailing Caverns. But, I did it because they needed me to. And I was like, yeah, it's half an hour of like pretty mindless gameplay in a 200-hour journey to 60. I will live. I will get over it. But fuck, maybe that's just me. So when people say, oh, well, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Hey, Mr. DPS Priest, now we're going to make you heal because we can't find a healer. Okay. The healers usually do that. I don't know. I was in a fucking, again, it's just RFC with Rian and Rue the other day that so many of you have written into me through the week and said you loved them on the show last week. Rian, DPS Druid. Hey, mate, do you mind healing? Can't find a healer. Oh, I've never healed before. Mate, you'll be okay. Just press a couple of rejuves, and honestly, the content's pretty easy. We'll make it. Yeah, rightio. I'll give it a go. That's it. Fucking problem solved, because he's not a cunt. Am I taking crazy pills here, Marcus?
No, I think you're on point. In the end, like I was in Discord for that run too. It sounded like he had a bit of a fat time doing a bit of healing.
Yeah, he liked it.
It was quite impressive. I was coaching from the sidelines there a little bit. It was very nice.
Mate, I kissed a girl and I liked it.
Yeah, exactly.
He got it done.
That's what I did when I first started healing. I kissed a girl and I liked it, man, and I haven't looked back since.
There you go. So, like I said, it's tough because I really want to highlight again, I get that it's a sticky subject, guys. And, I'm not about telling people what to do in this game. And I know a lot of you guys think that I've just done that. Oh, Josh, you've literally just spent 20 minutes telling people what to do and fucking berating them for it. No. Do what you want to do until it becomes stupid, is my point. When you've been waiting 15 minutes for a tank, shut up and tank. It's not going to kill you. That's my point. That's why the world is laughing at you warriors who are just walking, talking memes. You're committed to DPS, and we're all laughing at you for it. That's the end of the story. But anyway, moving on from all that and back onto, the bit of the wonder of the game. We talk about Rian sort of healing for the first time on his druid and really liking it, and Players trying new classes for the first time and all this shit. For some of you guys who've been tuning into the stream, it's been funny as well. There seem to be a lot of new players on this server, people who aren't overly familiar with vanilla, just newbies in general. I'm playing with my nephew, Justin. He's 24 years old. He's never touched WoW in any way, shape, or form. His only exposure to MMOs or RPGs is RuneScape. Back in the day, 14 years ago, he played RuneScape. So it's been funny watching him, and I do encourage, if you ever see a notification in the Discord that I'm playing with Justin, I would encourage you check it out, just to get a little bit of the hit or the taste of what it was like for all of us our first time. He's put a lot of I think perspective, certainly for me and maybe for some of the other guys hanging out with us, about how fun it was when you didn't know anything, and how he just sort of plows ahead regardless, because he does, and all the things that we laugh at, going, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's playing without nameplates on. He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't know. But of course, eventually we told him about it, and he turns it on and was like, oh my God, I'm never playing without this now. This is amazing. But he happily played for 4 hours without it. Doing all the things like, clicking stealth, not hotkeying stealth, and clicking it on, your little icon that you get, your stance bar that you get there, that we had a good laugh at. Dying to his first set of murlocs in Tirisfal Glades was a bit of fun as well. But it's been really cool, and it is always good to get new players to the game, or people who are retail players coming over to play vanilla. It's definitely fun, and it just reminds you that there is fun to be had in this game outside of the meta. I know we're all very finely tuned fucking professional gamers, allegedly. I'll get to soon with this game. But it has been fun to take joy in the little things and watch a newbie do their thing. But the non-newbies, I have seen, as a non-newbie myself, we've been parked in SM lately. So that's kind of where our journey is the bulk of the pack has now hit Scarlet Monastery. And, from your level 29 to 40s are all doing the grind now. And I know what you're going to say, you don't have to do the grind, get out there and quest. I'm doing a bit of both. I'm not living in SM. I'm sort of jumping back and forth, but I have done a lot of SM runs. As you guys know, vanilla is the kind of game where you sort of have to. Like, there's not enough quests out there. There's a lot of world travel. There's just not enough to get you from A to B in terms of levels. You have to connect the tissue with dungeon runs. And it's insane how much smoother things get if you just do 2 or 3 dungeons every couple of levels. You know what I mean? It really, really makes that experience so much better. Not just gear-wise, but experience-wise. Just seeing like, oh, that's 2/3 of a level I don't have to worry about now, and it makes the quests I had so much easier because I've dinged, and now my hit chance is better, and I can go back and clean up all this shit. SM has been an experience, for sure. And like I said, I'm tanking. But I had a great time in SM with my mates. As we all say, WoW is better with friends. It's a bit shakier with randos. But, you make friends from the randos. So it's a bit of a bitter cycle. But ran with Marcus, ran with Yubi, had good times. We give each other a bit of shit, but it's friendly. It's never personal. It's never like mean. We don't go full mean girls or anything like that. We just have a laugh and sort of, they'll give me stick if I miss a taunt or something, or if I, sundered instead of fucking cleaving or some shit like that, or the other way around. And, you give Mark a stick for being all the time, whatever, because he's got to do his healing thing. It doesn't matter, whatever, we're mates. Like, you just say fun shit. But when you're playing with randos, my God, does the game change in Scarlet Monastery. It has been quite the experience. How do I put this delicately? You vanilla players need to chill the fuck out. You really, I think that sums it up, doesn't it, Marcus? You need to fucking relax.
Yeah, it's yeah, that sums it up pretty well. They're a little bit uptight, the boys, eh?
I'm going to tell a few stories now, and Marcus, I'd love you to think of some of your good ones as well. And yeah, this is bitching, but like it's we need to throw this back in the player base's faces a little bit, because quite frankly, I'm sick of this shit and I'm not here to stand for it. And like, whilst I've sit here and said, you don't pay your sub fee to be told what to do, but please tank if you've been looking for a tank for 15 minutes. I don't pay my sub fee to get abused by randos. I don't. And I mean abused for no reason. If you get in a fight with a player over a good reason, fucking go nuts. Flame the shit out of them. Some guy ninja'd something from you that really you should have, and they're a fuckwit and they took it. Flame the shit out of them. I don't give a fuck. Social contract be damned. Blizzard won't be happy with me saying this, but fuck the social contract. I'm really big on vigilante justice, if you will, the Batmaning in the World of Warcraft. And people get really, really upset when I've always said this. The pearl clutching over swearing in WoW is such false bullshit. How there are players out there that will drop racial slurs left, right, and center. They're memers, they're fucking dickheads, they're ninjas, they're just bad fucking just losers. But the second you say shit or fuck to them, they're the quickest draw in the West on the like, oh, you used profane language, or way to swear at me, bro, when they're like, they are being complete cunts to you, but all they do is leave out the swear words. And the second you say fuck you back to them, they clutch the pearls and go, oh, how dare you, reported. You guys are so weird. You fucking cunts are so weird. But anyway, I'm going to get to these stories. So I say, fuck it. Fuck the social contract. If someone does you dirty in this game, or if someone gives you unsolicited bullshit, a whisper about, hey, you're in the wrong spec, or hey, do more damage when your damage is perfectly fine, I say, fucking give it to them. Say, listen here, you stupid cunt. Go fuck yourself with your opinion. I play this game for fun. Now suck my fucking balls, I'm putting you on ignore. I get chat banned quite frequently for responses like that, because I don't like being the punching bag for weirdos. But that's me. So here's some of the SM woes. Story number one. And look, if any of you listening to this podcast are the person in this story, fucking hit me up by all means. This is my side of the story. You can tell me your side if you want, but I'm going to go with my side being more accurate, I would think. I've built up a pretty good level of trust in the community. So a warrior and I walk into an SM library run. I'm tanking. I'm still getting the hang of vanilla tanking outside of a hardcore environment. If you guys have done it, I would like to think it's a very different ball game when you're tanking in hardcore as opposed to tanking in regular. You can throw more caution to the wind, reckless abandon, tanking in regular. If you die, it doesn't fucking matter, blah, 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 blah. In hardcore, I was, very used to pulling 3 at a time, max. Sunder like your fucking life depends on it. Sword and board, all that shit. I sword and boarded for like my first 2 RFCs and Whaling Cabins, and then I ditched it and said, yeah, this is ridiculous. I'm not required to sword and board in Classic, and worked that out very quickly. That was just the hardcore carryover. So I threw on my old 2-hander. Now I've got rage. Now I can hit my abilities and life is dandy. I've been caught up in this like, do I sunder or do I cleave question? And I know a lot of you might say, well, Josh, it comes down to group composition. Like, are you in a melee cleave group? Maybe Sunder is the answer. Or, depending on the kind of pack you're fighting, maybe cleave is the answer. Maybe it's just like, it depends is the answer. But some people would say always cleave. Some people would say always Sunder. And I've been getting a feel for it. But either way, I did a dungeon just set up prior to this. I did a dungeon with Yubi, and he had a funny dig at me at the end. He goes, "Josh, now that we've finished the run, I can now say, you clearly are not a sundering tank." And he goes, "I would have loved some sunders as a rogue." And I go, "Oh, I got told in my last run to cleave, and you're saying sunder." And he goes, "Do what you will." So after Yubi saying that, I go to my next run and go, "Oh, okay, this is a Malay heavy group. I'll do the sunder thing." Okay. So we do a really smooth, fast run. And about halfway through the run, the other warrior clearly just starts tanking. I think whether I was going too slow for him or whatever, he just takes the wheel and he starts tanking. I didn't care. Go nuts. We're going faster. It's all fine. I just taunt mobs here and there, and he leads the way for the second half, and it's all good. We really smashed it. We did the dungeon quickly. Nobody died. It was as smooth as fuck. Nobody said anything the whole run. Everything great. Healer had mana. Everything. Perfect run. At the last boss, I get a whisper. And it's this warrior saying, "You're in the wrong..." Something along the lines of, "You're in the wrong spec." And I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You don't have sweeping strikes yet. You need to respec. Stop doing SM at the way you are. Go and respec." And I looked down at the DPS meters, and yeah, this warrior had done 100k damage, and I had done 55k. And I say to him, "Oh, mate, I've literally spent every global on Sunder. Like every global, because I've been trying to tank, and I've been holding threat relatively okay. You take a mob or two here and there, but you and I have been co-tanking this thing, and I've just been sundering away. I thought Sunder was the play." And he goes to me, "You're doing pedo DPS." And I go, "Oh, okay, he's one of those guys. Here we go." And when I saw the name of the toon, I was like, "I bet you this guy's a cunt." And unfortunately, the prophecy was true, and he turned out to be a cunt. He goes, "You're doing pedo DPS. Get the fuck out of my group. You need to respec. Don't bother. You're the worst tank I've ever seen. Don't bother playing this game unless you fucking do it right." And I said to him, "Mate, I PvP. I have chosen not to take sweeping strikes because I'm a PvP player. I'm just dungeoning here for a cheeky half a level or a quarter of a level right now. But in 1v1 PvP, I have no interest right now in sweeping strikes. I don't have Whirlwind. I don't need sweeping strikes. I'm more than happy going for taking my 5% crit in the Fury Tree and getting my Deep Wounds and Impale." And he goes to me, "Lol, you take Deep Wounds and Impale for PvP as arms?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You don't know what you're doing if you take those." And I've just gone "Mate, again, I realize that there is a discussion about Deep Wounds being doo-doo for warrior leveling, but I am PvPing and I want it. And most warrior PvP builds take, not even most, almost, every arms warrior in PvP takes Deep Wounds and Impale." And he goes, "No, that's not true. They're shit. You're an idiot." And I just said, "Mate, I think this is you've just outed yourself. I think this is where the conversation ends." That conversation blew me away. It really blew me away, and I really cracked the shits because it came from a run where nothing went wrong. Nothing went wrong, and that wasn't good enough for this guy. He did the move, which I hate, which is I flame people who don't press their buttons. And when I say don't press their buttons, I mean we are halfway through the dungeon and I can see on details that you've pressed 23 buttons in 12 minutes. You know what I mean? Those people get kicked. I'm not here to basically have you on follow and get carried through a dungeon. Get the fuck out of my dungeon. And I know many of you would be like, oh, I don't care. Just let him fucking watch Netflix. I fucking care. All right? Fuck those players. Get them out of there. But if you're a player that's just doing below average DPS but still pressing your buttons, doing something, I don't give a fuck. Fine, whatever. Hey, they're helping in some way. I don't give a shit. We had a mage the other day doing like pretty ordinary DPS. And he's like, I'm in AoE spec and we're not AoEing. And I'm like, you know what? Doesn't matter. Don't care. You're trying. You're pressing frost bolts. Don't care. And someone was trying to give him shit about it. And I'm like, no, this is not an issue. Who fucking cares? He's doing something. Just shut up and keep going. So the part that hurt more was that this cringe warrior ego fuckstick felt the need to flex and say something about his performance versus mine at the end of an otherwise successful run. These players are the fucking problem with the game. They really are. It's so fucked. When you stop, and this is where you guys from the last discussion get to say, ooh, it's time for Hypocrite Josh to come out. Because I'm going to say this. When you stop and tell someone how to spec in the game, like not a friendly like, oh, hey, man, I see you're doing this spec. Just so you know, there's another spec out there that would really skyrocket your DPS. You should consider trying it. Okay, cool. No worries. That's fine. That's friendly. But when you start attacking someone and going, lol, oh my God, you're the worst player ever. Imagine not having this talent point placed here by this stage of the game. Then go fuck yourself, because you're really just telling that person how to play the game. Now, not so fast, all you guys going, Josh, you just told all the people who wouldn't tank that they're the problem, even though they're doing the exact same thing. No, they're not doing the exact same thing. Because again, I'll bring you back to the whole fucking point of the tank argument, which was the caveat that they've been waiting a while for a tank. All right? So just settle the fuck down. All right? And as I said, if a warrior joins a group and immediately gets told to tank without even looking for a tank, and they say they're DPS, then it's the other player that's in the wrong, not the warrior. You shouldn't tell the warrior to tank immediately before looking for a tank. I'm with the warriors there. It's when the time passes that it starts to become silly. And this is one of those scenarios where straight away you're being told you're playing the game wrong. Do what I do what I say, or else I will flame you. It's fucking bullshit. It's weird. And the thing that bothers me about this stuff is this happens all the time, every day in this game, and there are zero repercussions that come from it. Fucking zero. I mean, what do I do? You know, this guy fucking gave it to me, and, you know, you guys can call me a fucking pussy for doing this, but I reported him. I fucking did. I don't pay a monthly fee for some fucking weirdo who's never seen the light of day to flame me and call me the worst fucking player he's ever seen and give me shit because he didn't like my talent choices. Or the fact that I was sundering so that he could do more damage. Yeah, and calls me a pedo out of fucking radio. Nice one, mate. Exactly. So I reported him. And I just wrote in the report, like, I don't know what to say. This guy's like flaming me, like cyberbullying. I don't know what you call it. I hate those terms because they seem weak, but like, I don't know what else to call it. Nothing will happen to that guy. Fucking nothing. I guarantee you. And that's just the part that sort of sits there and unsettles me a little bit. But that's story number one. I'll tell you story number two. Oh, God. I think you had a laugh at this one, Marcus. This was 3 runs in a row. This is where I wouldn't say I considered quitting, but it sucked the soul out of my enjoyment of this server for a good 12 hours. The next run, I team up with a priest, rogue, shaman, blah, 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 whatever. So here's what actually happened. At the start of the dungeon, the priest forts everyone. Priest forts everyone but the rogue. because he ran out of mana. Cool, no worries, he's drinking. Rogue goes, can I get my fort? Priest goes, 1 second, I'm drinking. I sort of miss this interaction and I pull because I'm like, the priest is at 3/4 mana. I didn't see that the rogue was calling for a fort. And even if he is calling for a fort, it's not like I can't pull. The priest can just throw him a fort at the start of my pull. I start fighting mobs. We go, SM library, kill the first 2, walk up to the next 3, start killing them. Rogue again is like, can I please have a fort? And the priest is like, I don't have enough mana for a fort right now. Okay, whatever. We proceed through. We kill the dog handler guy. We clear the whole first hallway. We clear the courtyard. We kill the first boss. We get into the second hallway. So we're a good 10 minutes into this dungeon. Priest has sat down to drink 3 separate times during this fucking run through. I completely not paying attention to chat because I never do because I'm a fuckwit. But the priest has had many, 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 many opportunities to fort this rogue. Oh, wait, I'm leaving out a really key moment. Sorry, I should say this. The first pull, the rogue sat in the corner and refused to start DPSing until the fort was on him, which, quite frankly, didn't bother me. I don't fucking care. We were killing things. The rogue's just sitting there. He didn't say anything. He didn't say, I'm not going to start until you fort me. He didn't say that. But he just sat there not doing anything, waiting for his fort. And fort is rather key, in these dungeons because, like I said, the aggro can go everywhere and you want these guys doing the having all the stamina they can have. Eventually, the rogue starts DPSing because he realized that he wasn't going to get the fort. So, like I said, many opportunities for this priest just to fucking throw out a fort on this rogue. We get halfway through the second hallway. And again, this rogue has not flamed this guy. And he's not flaming him in whispers. He says a third time to the priest, can I have a fort? ? And the priest and the shaman are like, lol, no, you're an asshole. Fuck this guy. And we'd stopped fighting mobs, and the rogue just leaves the dungeon. I stopped as the tank, and I did the slowest of slow motion 180 keyboard turns towards this priest. And I said to him, did you seriously just sink a run out of spite? Why did you not fort that guy? Oh, he was an asshole at the start of the dungeon. He wouldn't start DPSing until I forted him. He was the problem. He's a fucking cunt. And I go, no. No. I don't care if he was being mildly passive-aggressive at the start. He asked you 3 times politely for a fort. And you, in your fucking weird passive-aggressive nature, have decided, for some reason, in this dungeon where he could really use that buff, to not give it to him because you're a prick. No, he was the prick. And I said, you know what? You ladies have fun with yourselves. You just lost yourself a fucking tank out of this. And I just left. My jaw was on the ground. My fucking jaw was on the ground over these fucking weirdos that play this game. I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of weirdos that play this game. Gobsmacked is too, soft of a term, Marcus.
Yeah, it is.
So, that was run number 2. Run number 3, this is all 3 back-to-back runs. Back-to-back-to-back, right? This is what made me almost quit the game. The last one wasn't as bad. Actually, the more and more I think about it, it was probably more me just being a bit sensitive. But, we had a healer. Again, Marcus, this is the healing argument. I don't understand all of these healers' obsessions with waiting until I'm at 20% to heal me. I don't get it. It's happening way too often for it to be bad luck. It is a thing. It must be some weird healer meta that I didn't get the memo on. I get that the 5-second rule is a thing. I get that mana is like really valuable in vanilla WoW. But like, we've done a few pulls now, and you have seen me wait for you. You've seen that I'm not an asshole tank. I was that guy when I first started tanking a while ago. I didn't keep an eye on healer mana. I'm sorry, Hunk. I fucked you in the past. I've learned from my mistakes. I now eyeball healers mana, and I wait for them, and I'm very good. I even wait for the mages. That's how good of a bloke I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
This fucking healer would not heal me until I got to 20%. I didn't say a word about it. I just rolled my eyes and go, oh, fuck, another one. So we go to the dog handler, and that's like, you take a little bit of damage in that fight. Like, it's not that bad, but you take a little bit of damage if you're the tank and you got 4 mobs on you and you don't have a sword and board on. So we do the pull. I wait for the healer to get to full mana. I pull. He waits for me to get to 20%. He then starts spamming flash heal. And this is, again, I don't want to go too hard on this because, you know, I don't want to pretend like everyone knows the most mana efficient spells in the game, or everyone knows how to perfectly play their class, or, you know, again, telling people what spells to hit. I don't, because I just told you the story about the warrior that told me what spells to hit. So I'm not, this is not so much a conversation about what spells the priest should be hitting, but it's the letting me get to 20% part that riles me up the most. Then he's got a flash heal to catch up. Now he's on the back foot mana-wise, right? Whereas, like, I maintained threat. I maintained threat on all 4 mobs for this whole 45-second fight, whatever the fuck it was, right? He goes with 15 seconds to go. And I could have feared, but I didn't, because I was just watching this healer. He had 10% mana left. We were almost through the pull, and he didn't throw me anything. What you would know, Marcus? What can a priest squeeze off with 10% mana left in vanilla at this stage? Can you still get a shield or a renew off?
You certainly can get a renew. Shield is probably going to provide less value. With like another tick of regen, probably. I think greater is like 11%, but certainly another flash for sure.
So I had no doubt this guy could cast one more spell and probably another flash, but he just sat there and did nothing. And again, my jaw was just on the ground, so I didn't hit fear or anything. I was just watching him going. I was on stream, I think, going like, I was in voice, going like, I don't think this guy's going to heal me. I think he's going to let me die. I don't think this guy's going to heal me. So I didn't CC or anything, and I let myself die, just like going like, wow. But again, it's just like, you healers will have to talk to me about, I don't care about the mana inefficiency, because like I said, I will happily stop I'm the tank who will happily stop every 2 packs and let them drink. And I won't tell them, hey man, you should be casting greater heal, man. That's more mana efficient, man. I don't do that. I don't say a fucking word. I'll let them learn on their own, and I'll just wait for them to get their mana. The part that shits me is that every healer in this fucking game is letting the tank get to 20%, and weird shit starts to happen. You know what I mean? Just heal your fucking tanks at an earlier point, please. I'm really begging you guys, if you're healing, stop doing that to your tanks. And then, like, the other thing is, like, not this guy, but a lot of other healers, then some of them are never going below 80% mana, because they're just like, they know about mana efficiency in the 5-second rule, and they're just throwing you one greater heal every now and again and not doing anything else. And I'm just kind of like, mate, we're going to have to wait for that mage to drink anyway. You might as well spend your mana. Like, what are we saving it for? You can't, I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, that priest, like, it's a really backwards way of playing priest. And yeah, again, like, don't really want to tell people how to press their buttons, but I think that he would get more enjoyment out of the game. Keeping you topped and then hunting for a mind blast at the end to get spirit tap, and then being able to just cast and regen still half your mana anyway. Like, it just feels better. But um, yeah, again, like, I'm always the healer, and I mean, I know I let you get low, but there's generally a reason for it, and it's like I'm setting totems, or like I'm drinking so you can start pulling earlier, and I know I've got nature swiftness or something to just top you.
Yeah, but you don't let me get to 20% every time. There's definitely there are moments. Don't get me wrong, I'm a healer, guys. I get it. There are moments where don't freak out. I'm doing a million things right now. I know you're at 20%. I've got you, Mr. Tank. Okay, now we're all good. Totally understand. It's when it's every time where I'm like, you have clearly decided that the meta is to heal the tank at 20% and nary a health point earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, you guys, you tell me if you think I'm being hypocritical. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't flame him. I didn't do anything. I have not said anything to any of these healers. Like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I'm stressing out here. I know I'm not dying and you're doing your job, but can we just not make me stress? Like, it's fucking weird. I don't say that. And particularly, like, I had one just the other day where, like, I said to you guys, like, I can't tell if the healer's AFK or not. So, like, I popped my shield wall on a pull where I didn't fucking have to pop it because dickhead was there. He just wasn't healing me. So that's what happens. Your tank blows cooldowns they would have otherwise held on to for a better moment because they don't know if you're fucking balls deep in a taco or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit of communication, kind of like, if that player or these healers generally, like, genuinely have a reason to do this, like, if they communicate with you, one, like, you understand what's going on, you're not going to press buttons that you don't really want to press, and two, it's always that chance to start a new relationship. To, like, maybe you might find a friend, maybe you'll do a few groups together, and then you just kind of get to know each other, and the synergy happens. You know what I mean?
And I've just remembered the actual third story. So that story I just told made it in this podcast because I couldn't remember the third story of the back-to-back-to-back. That one wasn't actually part of the back-to-back-to-back Nightmare trilogy. This one I'm about to tell you was the other one. So here's the third dungeon in a row that Ubiquitous saw me losing my fucking mind to in Discord as he was cackling away, reading it all. Let's go out on a limb and say this. Nobody should expect perfection in this game, all right? We're human, we make mistakes. Even the best players make mistakes. The best tank in the world will overpull once every now and again. The best healer in the world will, take their eye off the prize, mismanage a heal or two, and be when they shouldn't be, right? It's fine. It's okay to wipe in this game. I know the content is disgustingly easy. I get that. And everyone wants to do the rolling of the eyes and, oh my God, imagine wiping in Scarlet Monastery. Oh my God. At the end of the day, whilst the content is very easy and you, very much so probably shouldn't be wiping, if you happen to wipe, it is not the end of the world. Nobody gives a fuck. It takes 90 seconds to get back to where you were. It's really not a big deal, okay? If you wipe at a dungeon like Razorfen Downs, sure, now we've got a bit more of a conversation on our hands when it could be like a 7-minute run back to where you were to get set back up again. That sucks. I get that. Scarlet Monastery, whatever. I mean, in general, if you wipe, no matter where you are, it's not like the biggest deal in the world, okay? People make mistakes. So, that sounds like I'm just prepping you guys for a mistake that I made and you would be ding, ding, ding correct. So in the second hallway of this run, again, it's the SM library, we go down the hallway and you know the one where you've got the two guys at the end of the hallway, 2 or 3 mobs in the room at the left, and one patrolling mob coming through from the corridor on the right. It was late. I'd done like 4 runs in a row by this stage. I've just, for whatever reason, didn't pull with my gun and went up and body pulled the 2 at the end of the corridor. Then the 3 mobs from the room on my left join in, and I go, oh God, I had a brain fart. I should have gun pulled. It's not the end of the world. It's 5 mobs. Let's just get through this. So I pull them all back as best I can, aggro kind of going everywhere because I fucked up the pull. We move back to the center of the hallway, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just sit here and reestablish threat as best I can. We'll get through this. It's 5 mobs. It's not the end of the world. It's literally just like a 2 pull. It should have been maybe a 2 and a 3 pull that I've just created 1 5 pull. Okay, whatever. We have a mage. So, what happens? I'm running around. I'm really, really, really struggling to get threat because everyone is hitting something different. This is before I was marking things. Everyone is DPSing. Literally, like, everyone's 1v1ing one of these 5 mobs. I'm running around, taunt, mocking blow, sunder on, like, I can't get enough threat on all of them. So I've got like 2 of the 5, right? But one of those 2 gets taken off me straight away and all that shit. So we start struggling and we wipe. And we also, one of the DPS arse pulled the patrolling mob, so a 6th mob joined the fray. That was probably the moment when it fell apart, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care. It happens. Whatever. We wiped. We're running back, and the mage who is with us, and just remember, this is a perfectly normal run up to this point. They've just spent 10 minutes with me seeing that I'm a perfectly capable tank. No one complained. Nobody said shit. Everybody's happy. We wipe halfway through the dungeon, and the mage just unloads on me. You're the worst fucking tank I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck were you thinking with that pull? This isn't retail, you fucking idiot. You can't pull like that. And I'm like, mate, it was 5 mobs. I mispulled. Sorry, I made a mistake. I said this in chat. I'm like, sorry, I mispulled. It was a mistake, but it was 5 mobs. Like, we could have done it, but we didn't. Who cares? Move on. He just keeps getting into me. Like, that was fucking, what kind of smooth brain shit was that? Lol, you're a fucking retail zoomer thinking you can pull half the dungeon. And I'm like, again, jaw on the ground going, who the fuck is this cunt? Because my mind immediately was cast back to the moment of madness when, guess what? Not a single fucking Frost Nova went out. What? Not a single fucking sheep went out. Not a single fucking blizzard went out. This mage, with all of his toolkit to help alleviate that pressure in that moment, didn't do a single fucking thing to help and was the first to jump on me, telling me to fucking, I'm the worst fucking player they've ever seen. What kind of a tank do I think I am? And I'm just like, who are these people? Who the fuck are you? Who are you? Come out. Come fucking right into me at the show. Who are you? Who are you fucking weirdos who are so obsessed with vanilla, who are the worst players alive, that then are the first to jump on people when something normal goes like, okay, fuck, I mispulled. I've done 20 fucking library runs and I've mispulled like 2 or 3 times out of fucking what? 85 pulls? Like, fuck, man, shit happens. And you didn't fucking help one bit. I was so angry, as you can tell. Marcus, what would you have done in that scenario?
As the mage, probably press Frost Nova, to be honest.
Probably.
So like it's my favorite time as a mage when like someone arse pulls.
When shit hits the fan.
Yeah, and like I'm like, oh, I get to do all this cool stuff now. Like, just stand back, boys. Hold my beer. I've got this. We're gonna go from one end of Shattered Halls all the way to the other with 15 fucking mobs. I've got this covered, all right? And all you need to do is just keep me up and throw me at Innovate. It's just such a fun time to be playing the class.
100%. And Hot Dog, mate, I love you, but I'm going to call complete bullshit to that one. This is what the OCE guys have started to do, whether or not they're memeing or just to roll me up. They're like, oh, I don't see any of this on old OCE, on old Maladath. Mate, I fucking guarantee you it's happening. And just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it ain't happening. I guarantee you, OCE is not like, uh, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like they don't. They're WoW players, mate. They do the same thing. Trust me. Don't give me this. Oh, we're so nice in OCE. OCE are horrible people as well. There are some shitheads in these OCE discords playing fucking 1.12 nonstop as well. Trust me. Don't give me the like Maladath is heaven thing. Oh my god, here we go. And trust me, we're gonna get to the Maladath conversation soon. Yeah, all you OCE guys just fucking rolled your eyes. We're going there. Yeah, Rowano, how dare I cost them 5 minutes? But that's the thing, it's not even. It's I cost you 90 seconds. I'm human. I made a mistake. I apologize for it. I cost you 90 seconds. And just the fucking audacity to be like, you're a fucking piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Fuck off. Anyway. So that's been SM for me. What a lovely positive angle to take this podcast down, Marcus. But yeah, that's a half anger management there for you. SM, the reason I'm sort of bringing all this up is that my SM woes don't seem to be, it's not just me. I've seen a few people now talking about the gripes in SM, and as you now start to do a few more dungeons, being exposed to more of the player base, and like, here we're here to make friends and play with other players. I'm not trying to say like, oh my god, don't play with other players. Everyone who plays this game is the worst. Fuck you all, just play alone. I'm not saying that. But you do start to get to more exposed to more players. You meet more people on your server, and some of those interactions will be negative and some will be positive. But as you start the SM grind, and again, you don't have to sit in SM the whole time, but from 29 to 40, you will probably do a fair few SMs. It's kind of a shitty part of the leveling experience, but it's also, like I said, semi-necessary, where you need it to pad out those levels. Particularly like, for example, let's say that like 29 to 32 window. It's not a great time to be in many of the zones. There's not a lot of zones where I'm like, yep, I'm 29, I'll go here. I go to SM at 32, get your early nesting wary quests out of the way, maybe 33, but generally 32. You finish up 1,000 needles around 28, 29, but you don't do shimmering flats yet. You're too low for that. You've sort of done Stone Talon. You can't go there. Hillsbrad, you've sort of covered off in that. Hillsbrad has a lot of quests from 24 to 26, but then you come back there when you're 32. There's not much in the late 20s for Horde in Hillsbrad. So it's a little bit of a no man's land, in my opinion, the old 29 to 30. So you just pad it out with SM runs. And yeah, I've just seen a lot of people going like, fuck, I kind of have to be here, but yeah, this is hit and miss at times. Marcus, how would you describe your SM experience so far?
Mine's been like way less toxic, but I feel like I've actively had to head a few things off at the pass. There's one group that leaps out to me, and it was a brilliant group, and we were just sort of rotating through mages. I was healing a spell cleave, which I prefer to do. It just costs me less in water. And there's 2 warlocks, a mage, and we had a warrior tank corralling mobs for us, which was great. And a really good mage player has just left the group, and we get another mage player in. And there was a red flag for me initially, was that they only had 50% slow. Like, that didn't seem right to me, but I'm like, it's manageable. We can, with Earthbind and stuff, like, we can get this done. And we get going, and he's not really pressing the buttons the way that this warlock wanted him to press, and the packs are a little bit scattered. And this guy starts chirping, and I'm like, I'll let him chirp a little bit, it's fine. He's being respectful, trying to just maybe help the guy or whatever. And then it started to get like increasingly more toxic. And I've noticed that this mage is like speaking, like typing in broken English, and I'm like, it's clearly English is not this person's first language. I don't think that they even understand what this guy is saying. So I had to pull him up. I was like, bro, just like, woo up, man. Like, his first language clearly isn't English. He's struggling to understand you. and we're going all right, mate. Like we're still getting good XP per hour, and things are dying, and no one's like wiping or anything like that. He tried another couple of times, and in the end, I whispered this guy and said, "Mate, if you just keep on with this, I'm out, bro. Like I'm just not here for it." And he stopped immediately, which was good. And one really good story that sticks out to me was a warrior. He's 100% a committed guy, but he was tanking for us in Cathedral, and he's just full send all the time. And I'm like, man, I can respect that. And he gets killed, and I say nothing, and like he's the only one who died in the pool. I say nothing, he says nothing. Like he died in a Ravager spin. I don't know if you can click that off. I've never had the privilege of having that axe. And anyway, it happened again in the next run, and I'm like, I'm fucking sorry, man. He's like, no, it's totally my fault. Like, I just see these big numbers, and I can't help myself, and I will, I'll throw myself at a wall of spikes, sort of thing, you know, just to see these numbers. And I'm like, man, I could really respect that, and it was crazy as. So I've been fortunate. I haven't had too much toxicity, but then again, like I said, I've really tried to just head it off at the pass.
Yeah, and I definitely, and Panga, I think what Marcus said, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I thought you could click off the Ravager effect. Isn't there a right, doesn't something come up as a buff and you right click it off and it stops it? That's my understanding. Like, if I'm wrong, tell me, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. You don't have to sit there and Ravager if you don't want to.
And it plays, if that's the case, it plays into this guy's personality even more. You know, like he is the stereotype, will let my character die just because I'm in a Ravager spin Zug warrior, and I can really respect that. Especially if you just cop those ones on the chin and you don't blame anyone else for it.
Look, I'm self-aware enough, Marcus, as well, and I said this to you guys in the Discord, where I was like, look, in a moment of self-reflection, I am completely aware as I sit here and rant and rave and scream on my own podcast and make people go like, who the fuck is this guy? You know, I'm the common denominator here. I'm just as much of the problem. And you know, that run that I told you about with the mage who flamed me, you know, I rezzed up and fucking call me a cunt. I told the rest of the group, like, guys, I'm not here to get abused. You know, your tank's out of here. See you later. And I left the group, and they didn't get to finish that run. You guys can call me and ask, because I know a lot of people who are like, oh, well, now you're the cunt. Imagine not finishing that run. Imagine not sucking it up and getting over it and just finishing the run. Because one guy talks shit to you. And I'm like, well, sorry, that's me. I've got a problem. I don't like arsehole behavior, and I call it out and punish it when I can. And, you know, if the only punishment I can dish out is that these guys now have to wait another 10 minutes for a tank, that's fine by me. I'm a overly sensitive, you know, quick to anger player. And I'd never start anything, but my God, if you ever talk shit to me in this game, I will end it. I don't start it, I finish it. And like I said, that's why I cop chat bans all the time, because I fucking rip into people. People start like the warrior, you know, they start being cunts to me, and they get really, really cunty in what they're saying, but they just do it without swearing. But then I fucking rip into them with the, you know, go fuck yourself, you piece of shit, and all that stuff. And, oh, ad hominem, oh, imagine swearing at me. Like, you're literally picking a fight. Go fuck yourself. It's the guy that shoves someone in a bar and then gets upset that they got punched in the head.
Yeah, I'm a pretty chill player. Like, we've played the game together for a fair while now, and I'm pretty chill, and you've seen it. I don't really spark up too much, especially not like with my mates in Discord, but I don't really do it with people in chat so much. But when you see like that much of, like, the other night when you're telling me these stories through Discord messages, like, I'm like, that would have got me. I would have went at some point in there. So it wears on even the most zen of people, and they'll either not play the game or they'll just sit quietly and feel bad until they explode, and that's not okay.
Let me see here. Oh, sorry, Marcus is echoing. That's my fault. I'll fix that now. That's just for you guys on stream. That won't be in the recording. But thanks for letting me know, Parallax. So I'll move on and just say, Marcus, the one last thing about SM that I wanted to get out of you is you did tell a weird story about, and again, I know we're being very harsh on the player base here, guys. I'm just going to emphasize this isn't about all of you. I know a lot of very nice players, and everyone in the guild has been amazing, fucking amazing. So this is not me saying all vanilla players are pieces of shit who can go fuck themselves, you know. But I'm just sharing some negative stories. And I've got friends who listen to this show who really hate it when I tell negative stories. And the whole thing is like, stop being such a doomer and stop being so negative. Can't you just talk about the positive and fun things with this game? Mate, we did that for 5 years. It's time to start calling cunts out for being fuckwits, quite frankly. The player base gets a pass way too often about all the content out there about how magical and fun vanilla WoW is. Oh, look at this item. Oh, look at this cool PvP montage. All that stuff is out there. And the majority of my content is positive. But I'm sick of pretending that this side of the player base doesn't exist. And I'm here after 6 years of dealing with the player base nonstop full time. I'm ready to start calling fuckwits out. And this is the fucking revenge tour of pointing the mirror back at some of these players and going, you're a fucking weirdo. Stop being a cunt. Play the video game. Mate, you had some weird loot thing with the Ravager, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've only asked like once, maybe twice, for off spec because I'm a shaman, and I don't know. I've never had the Axeman, and it kind of looks cool sitting there spinning on the spot. I'm like, I want to be part of that crowd. I want to be included in this. So Gibbs Ravager for off spec, please. And like, I've just spent like legit. If I don't buy water from a mage, like a full trade window for like 1 gold or something, a run with a melee cleave can cost me sometimes 2 gold, depending on how spread the damage is. And so I spend a bit to keep these guys up, help them get their XP. In return, I get a bit of XP and some shot at some loot. I asked for the Ravager and Armory, and I get told no because it vendors for good gold, and everybody needs gold, so everybody kind of needs it for off spec, like as if gold is a spec. I didn't rise up to it. I was just kind of like, I kind of probably should have and just rolled need on it anyway, but I guess I was tired and whatever. I just couldn't really be bothered with the bullshit and just left the group and moved on. And the same sort of thing happened, both times. It was just, it vendors for gold, which is disappointing because like I don't have the axe, and I'm like, I'll just wait until Josh is the appropriate level and I'll run with Josh and it won't be a problem, you know? So like that was my train of thought on it.
Mate, the fucking language I would have used to those cunts in that run, like I'm still floored by that story. Like I'm not shocked because I've heard of it happening before, the old vendor spec, but like again, in the grander context of everything, it's fucking classic WoW. It's SM. It's our 5th time playing this game in 5 years. To be told, like, you're a shaman who's got a level, it's not like you don't need weapons for leveling. And I know you respect Ellie and everything, and it's not like a high priority for you, but like, fuck, if you changed your mind and wanted to go back and enhance, it's right there. To be told no, don't take that for funsies because it vendors for a gold 20 and one of the 5 of us could take that home. It is. Pango's right. It's pure insanity. These are the awful people playing this game that need to be told to go fuck themselves on a regular basis. These weird nerds, and you are weirdos, not you guys listening, but some of you listening might be these guys, and if you are, I say fuck you. These weird nerds who are like, it's not about people having fun in this game. It's about me. It's all about me. It's about my possibility to get a fucking gold. 1 gold piece that won't mean a fucking thing in 2 to 3 to 4 weeks' time. I'll rob someone of a smoother leveling journey or a fun item that they wanted to get that I can't even or don't even I already have or I don't fucking use for a gold piece. No, so this isn't BOE ubiquitous. This is a BOP thing. This is the Ravager off Herod at the end. So this makes it even worse. It's a fucking bop item that no one in the dungeon run needs. And the shaman goes, I know I've been healing you guys, but do you mind if I... Oh, yeah, right here. You're replying to Panga. Gotcha, Yubi. The shaman goes, do you mind if I need on that? And to be told, no, we all need gold. Like, the fucking brain rot is insane. And I know this is just Josh versus the WoW Classic player base, and it's sort of intentional in a way. Trust me, it's only going to get worse, guys. So fucking, you know what? If you're offended by the things I've said so far, turn off now. It's only going to get worse. Go on, rip me in the Discord. You negative cunt. Remember how much you used to love Classic and the players? You've changed, man. Go on, rip me. You won't fucking handle what's coming next, I guarantee you. I've still got very positive things to say about this server, but you're going to hear some negative things too. Voodoo, you're one of them, mate. If you're like, I only want to hear positive things about this game, then stop listening. I love you, brother, but just stop here. This is fucking, mate, I get paid to analyze this game, and I'm fucking analyzing it. That's what I'm doing. This player base needs a fucking reality check, and they're going to get it. Of course you can have an opinion, but I'm just telling you mine. You're telling me, Voodoo, to shut up and only, like, I'm being harsh, but you're telling me to only say positive things. So, like, you're saying you can have an opinion, but I can't have mine because it's negative. Come on, brother. That's not the case. We both get our viewpoints out there. It's all good. Let's go on to the next point, and let's say this. Let's see here. Back to the difficulty of the game. It's been a weird run the last 10 days. Like we said, we feel like we're seeing a lot of newbies, and there's nothing wrong with being new at the game. Like I said, my nephew Justin is playing. He doesn't know a fucking thing. He's having a great time. Nothing wrong with being bad at WoW. There's nothing wrong with being new to the game, right? We all learn. Okay, I still am horrible. I was even worse 5 years ago. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. You play, you learn, you figure it out. That's great. But it's becoming much... We all know this, but it's becoming much more obvious to me why Vanilla 1.12 has a certain sway with a certain player base, and it is because of the difficulty of the game. We're all back in 1.12 hitting minimal buttons, doing very easy content, and people love that. Like, these dungeons and raids are so easy. I can watch Netflix. I can, hang out with my mates, do very little and achieve great results, and it's really fun. That's cool. It's not, I don't like retail. I don't like pressing a million buttons at 120 APM. And, the game's really hard and it's bullshit. Like, can't we just get back to the basics? That's all cool. You like what you like. But it's sort of brought up an interesting point of view now with SOD still hanging out there. And, I've been talking to a few of the guys going, like, it's funny how these first 10 days... don't get me wrong, guys. I'm enjoying Classic Fresh. I wouldn't say I'm head over heels in love with it, which is obvious from the stories I've been telling, but I mean, I am enjoying it. But it's done a funny thing where it has, and I think a few people are like this, it's made me miss SOD. Now, I'm not rushing back to SOD, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I've considered going back, but it's really made me miss SOD. And I said on the podcast about 6 months ago, I think, that I've got a funny feeling that the same thing is going to happen to SOD that happened to SOM. And it's going to end, and everyone is going to start talking very positively about it and talking about how much they miss it. And by gum, that is already happening. And SOD's still with us. That's the funniest thing. SOD is still available and playable right now. Go out and play SOD if you want to play SOD. There are raiding guilds begging for players. And the server's a really healthy population. It's not like they need it. There's, 25,000 raiders on the server or something. There are people playing SOD, absolutely. People go, oh, mate, 25,000, fucking, that's not a game. That's a dead game. It's not fucking 250,000. Mate, shut up. One server, 25,000 raiders. You kidding me? That's a fucking packed server. Sod is still with us, and I've just seen the post on the subreddit this morning about how everyone needs to shut the fuck up about how shit Sod was, because it's actually like pretty good. And I was on the Sod train from day one, and I've been saying that this whole fucking time. Sod has warts. Sod had unfortunate issues and problems, some of which were fixed, some of which weren't. But on the whole, it was a great experience, and still is a great experience. I shouldn't talk about it like it's in the past tense, like it's deceased. I disagree, OSV, that it was garbage for so long. I think it had one tier. What was it called? Phase 3 was lackluster. And I think a lot of people quit in Phase 3 and then have based their whole viewpoint on a 3-month period with the game. Everyone raves about Phase 1, Phase 2 so-so, Phase 3 shit, Phase 4 onwards, very good. Phase 2 wasn't much better, no, it wasn't. But it was still like better than Phase 3. But yeah, Sod gets dumped on by people that quit Sod before the good shit came, quite frankly. Which is fine, you're not expected to hang about if the game turns shit during a certain phase, but it got good. It got real good. So this thread on the subreddit today was really giving it to people, going like it was quite lengthy, and it laid out all the reasons why Sod has been a success in the author's mind. And much of it was very true. It probably left out a few of the warts that it should have mentioned as well. But it really made me think while I was reading it that like Sod upped the difficulty of the game. Sod added more button pressing to the game. And there is just a sizable amount of the 1.12 player base who is so not okay with that. And I feel like there's a lot of hiding behind reasons like, I love 1.12 because the world is beautiful. I love 1.12 because it's such a social game. I love 1.12 because of, the role-playing element and the lore. And don't get me wrong, all of that stuff is there. That is part of the reason I like 1.12. But I feel that there's a part of that conversation that gets left unsaid. And the 1.12 for life player doesn't say, I like 1.12 because it's easy and I'm not great at playing anything above 1.12. My 99s turn into 68s when I go into Sod, and I don't like that. I'm now playing a version of the game that I don't know back to front, and other players have caught up to me, and I don't like that. These mobs are hard. This raid is hard. I've got to learn a new boss. I don't like that. Because maybe I'm not that much of a gamer as I thought I was. And I think that's a cold, hard reality that is happening here, where it's like we just don't talk about it, where it's like I really feel like a lot of vanilla, like not a lot, but like much of vanilla's appeal to vanilla for lifers is just that fact that they can steamroll it. They've learnt the game inside out and they steamroll it. And I was listening back to the episode the other day where I went ballistic at poor old Spahana. And I was taking the dog for a walk, and I was laughing to myself because I was thinking, if anything, I didn't go harsh enough. If anything, I was too polite, as odd as that is to say, when I was, fucking yelling like a crazy person at this poor bloke who just wants to be a part of this show and enjoy this community. Because I caught more things that I didn't catch in the moment, and it is hard when you're hosting a group call, guys, and I'm managing volume levels and reading stream chat and everything. Sometimes I miss points that I otherwise would have dived on that I hear on the listen back. And I heard a couple more points from the classic lovers, and it started to drive me a bit more wild as I heard stuff like, oh, the debuff limit is actually going to not let us beat our old records at this game, and this is bullshit. And this was advertised as, um, uh, uh, classic fresh, which to us means no changes, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get into that soon. But I just started to get more riled up because I was like, one phrase kept going through my head, and it was just, who cares? Who cares? Oh, we can't beat our old records. Who cares? Like, done it 10 times over the last 10 years. Like, who cares? I know you care, but are we really going to sit here and have a serious conversation about building servers for the 1%? Are we really going to do that? Are we going to sit here and go like, let's ruin this game? Well, not ruin, but let's like tarnish this experience for 99% of the players so the 1% can beat their old records. It just defies, it's mind boggling in a way to me. Getting upset about dual spec because now people will change spec in the middle of a raid. Who cares? Who fucking cares? I'm just underlining it and tapping it and stressing it. I'm done caring. Who cares? We did it in 2019. You had your go. You've played every private server under the sun. So now are we seriously having the conversation about just, not making a game that people will play so the 1% can enjoy it? And I know Ale and Spahana are getting probably upset hearing me saying that. Oh, so you just give in to the masses. That's how we got retail. We'll wait for the slippery slope argument to play out. And I know there was a scare, again, trying to drum up a bit of fucking bullshit. There was a scare about MCP. I think MCP has no charges. Oh my God, they've got no charges on manual crowd pummeler. They've full slippery slope. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Turns out it wasn't true, and there are charges on MCP, and everything's fine. I'm just done caring. So there's dual spec in the game, and 99.9% of players won't do the thing that the hardcore players are afraid of, that they'll do themselves to speed clear dungeons. Spahana said in the Discord today, I was in a BRD run or something where a rogue, changed specs and reset their cooldowns and did all this funky shit. Which, yeah, I mean, as the guys were saying, if it resets cooldowns, that's probably not ideal, and that's something that would be great to change. But the holistic point about like, oh, this is bullshit, this rogue shouldn't be able to change specs before this boss, I just don't care. The three people that are going to do it, let them do it. I don't care. I'd rather have dual spec in this game, in this server, that, like I said, has already lost a sizable amount of players from week 1 to week 2. I'd rather have dual spec as the cherry, the fish on the worm on the hook that keeps players playing this server, rather than not being there and have the 65 1.12 enjoyers playing with each other in 6 months because dual spec wasn't part of the game. I don't know. Just call me an ogre, tell me I've changed. I'm done caring. I'm done caving into the errorists. It's just bullshit now. And I'm going to get some really angry and upset fucking you've changed DMs about this, but it's just how I feel. Marcus, do you want to jump in at this point? Anything I've said there that's gotten you going?
No, it's all pretty bog standard. I mean, like, there's choices people can make. That 1% is always going to try and stay on whatever the bleeding edge is. And like, I mean, Spahana he's evolving. I mean, like, to use dual spec in such a innovative way, is outside the box thinking. I mean, like, I definitely think he is a gamer. There's no doubt that gentlemen like Ale are fucking gamers. It's just, yeah, like, I mean, we've all kind of got, Classic Plus is going to be a thing. We all kind of need to get together and sort of cut this Civil War shit out and try and make a game, like, because it's obvious that the developers are open to those kind of communications, and to have brains like Ailes and Spahanas driving some conversation would be, and Tito, would be fantastic for the game long term, because it'll keep people that love changes, like it'll temper those changes a little bit, you know what I mean? So we'll get a better product overall, I think.
Well, this is where I'm going with this, and I'm not trying to start a civil war, but, you know, the more I've played this fresh server, and I've played a lot over the last 10 days, you know, we flagged this before this server launched. You know, are our bodies really ready for another 1.12 run, a 1x run? It's been fun. I'm playing. Hopefully I'll get to 60. I'll probably get to 60. And I'm not the whole player base. But like I said, it's made me appreciate SOD more. It's made me think about SOD more, even though I'm not playing SOD. And it's just got me thinking again about what's next. And we talk about this Classic Plus thing. And I am hearing from a lot of players, and you might be hearing the opposite, and that's cool. It depends on the circles you swim in. But I am hearing from a lot of players that it has been a harsh wake-up call coming back to vanilla classes post-SOD. It's literally like diving in the freezing cold ocean water at 6 a.m. and just a fucking wake-up call and a slap in the face of like, oh my God. You know, some people have been playing War Within, some people have been playing SOD, and we all played Classic in 2019, but then we went on to TPC, then we went on to Wrath, and then we went on to Kata, and we got more and more of these abilities introduced into the game. Oh, this is cool, this is cool, this is cool. Vanilla is a great game, but obviously we know it's relatively bare bones. And people have been saying to me, it's been rough remembering how bare the bones were. Which got me thinking about Classic Plus, and back to that argument we had a few months ago on the show that I'll sort of re-enliven here and just say, like, the devs are obviously watching all of this, and whatever they're designing next, like, I'll just say, in my opinion, and I am only one man, I have never felt stronger than I do now that if they were to cave and do a 1.12 Classic Plus that literally just adds like a Paladin Taunt and is the same base game but with new world content, that is a mistake. That is a fatal mistake. You would be drastically overestimating how interested the player base is in 1.12. It would be ridiculous. And I am sorry if I've offended you, because that's what you want. There are a lot of players out there who want that, and I'm not telling you to not want that. I'm just saying that in my opinion, that's how you sink a video game. Do it. Do it. Make Classic Plus. Make 1.12, but with 3 new zones and 3 new raids. Meet me at the end with how many people are playing it. We'll talk then. In my opinion, Classic Plus must add shit to these classes. It must. And I'm talking more than a Paladin Taunt. Like, the bare minimum mark here is Turtle WoW. Turtle WoW, you know, a lot of people go, oh, I've said they'll probably just rip off Turtle WoW, which I'm totally fine with. But Turtle WoW was not minimal changes. But some people might not even call Turtle WoW drastic changes. Some people would say they need to go further. I don't know if I'd go that nuts. I'm not sure. But I think it's clear that SOD went too far. But doing 1.12 with new content is the other extreme, where you've literally not changed anything. What was the point? So we don't want to change, like, we don't want to be excessive with the changes to the point that it's SOD, even though I really like SOD. And you don't want to go too light to the point that you've barely changed anything. What was the point of releasing this thing? And I'm just talking in terms of the classes. There's got to be this halfway point of like, okay, here are, I don't know, 4 new abilities for each class. And the best abilities from SOD are coming to this Classic Plus. in my opinion, it just has to be something like that if you want this to be good, popular, and have longevity, in my humble opinion. If you still want to look people in the eye and say it has to be 1.12 just with fresh content, and the content will be what re-enlivens your love of 1.12 and it'll be mad popular, watch what happens to this server over the next 6 months and then talk to me about that point. I'm not dooming. I'm not saying this server's going to die, but I'm just saying watch how many players are playing this Classic Fresh in 6 months. Then come back to me and say that these players and shitloads more are ready for yet another 1.12 in 6 months' time. Because let's say the Classic Plus is ready for launch in, I don't know, June, July next year, summer 25, right? You think Blizzard is going to look at you on a stage somewhere and say, hey, boys and girls, who's ready for their 6th offering of 1.12 in 5 years? How are they going to say that with a straight face? How are they going to say, we all know you love vanilla, here's the vanilla classes again? No, there is no reality where that happens. And if you're upset that that's not happening, I'm sorry you didn't get the game you want, but it's the best choice for a big game. It's an MMO. You need players. Why not spread that net? And I'm just getting like, I hate the retorts of like, when you spread the net, that's when you get retail. Retail's not a bad game. There, I fucking said it. But I'm not saying make this retail, but just the comeback of like, then you get retail. All right, well, but retail's a good game. So fucking, what are you doing here? Yes, it's very different to Classic, and I don't want fucking Classic Plus to be retail, but just we need to have a better discussion comeback than just it becomes retail. Marcus, let me throw it to you to bounce off me here, and mate, please give it to me. I deserve it by all means. Channel your inner, Tito, Spahana, Jay, all these guys. When I say it is a death sentence to Classic Plus, I think at this point to just do the 1.12 classes again. How do you feel about that?
It's not only a death sentence to the game. I mean, like, it won't 100% die. It just won't be what we've seen in 2019, or even the launch of SOD. But it's also stifling the creativity of the developers that work on this game, and they're creative people. We've seen it in SOD. They've done some wild stuff. It's a disservice to them in the piece of art that they're making, and it's a disservice to the consumers of that art, which is us. This is a lifetime, man. We've been fans of this game for a fucking lifetime. 20 years is a lifetime. It would be an absolute disservice to so many people to not innovate. And I agree, SOD levels of innovation were a bit much, but it was an experimental realm, and man, like, they just done some mad scientist stuff, and power to them for it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's my opinion, is that don't let us down.
Voodoo, are you free, mate, or are you at work? I've just thrown you an invite to speak. I'm not sure if you're at home or the office. Let me know either way. You're probably at the office. You can't talk. That's all right. I was going to get you in the office. Too easy, mate. I was going to get you in here for 2 seconds. Maybe you can tell me via text. I was going to say, the reason I was going to pull you in, I was just going to say, this is the point where we need someone, because I am just soapboxing here massively, and there's going to be a lot of people very angrily listening to this podcast, seething that there's not someone in this call telling me to go fuck myself. I was going to give you the opportunity to be the avatar for those people and tell me to go fuck myself. And I was too harsh on you earlier. I was going to apologize to you as well and say, mate, I'm not like having a go at you personally. Just like I say, we're just two people with opposite opinions on the positive negative thing. I love you, mate. I feel bad about having a go at you earlier. Marcus, can you accept the apology on Voodoo's behalf for him? Thanks. So where was I? I I've just been thinking about that with Classic Plus a fair bit over the last 24 to 48 hours, and I'm starting to get very uppity about the point, and also uppity, and it hasn't helped that I've been running into really toxic players, because like I say, I'm sorry to the nice 1.12 enjoyers out there, but you're kind of in the minority. Like I too many times am I getting into, weird toxic engagements with 1.12 people. It's just fucking annoying at best. But like, please go out and be positive for the 1.12 team and show people that you're not just a group of shitters. You know what I mean? But back to the difficulty point, like I said, like whilst the game is very popular when it's easy, because people are like, that's how you get raiders, that's how you get engagement, make the content easy. I agree that is a flow-on effect. When you make the game easy, you get people playing. That's why they like Classic. That's great. But from what I've been seeing the last 10 days in this game, and again, I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm sort of separating the simple mistakes from general gameplay. From what I've seen in this fresh server, and call me an ogre again for saying this, a lot of these players need this level of difficulty for a reason. So what do you do with the Classic Plus's difficulty? Like you really almost have to make it super simple, because we've seen in SOD, when you jack it up just a half a notch, this player base loses their minds. This is, struggling to do SMs at times. And yeah, I just told you a story about a mispull that I had that wiped a group. Ha ha ha, Josh, you're shit. You're part of the problem. But like, it goes beyond that. It's a weird server to play on, this one, and I'm particularly seeing it in PvP. Now, I understand that not everyone is particularly keen on PvP. I understand that not everyone's a PvP god. Mate, I'm a fucking average PvP player. I'm not going to sit here and shit on people for being shit at PvP. But the level of skill in the open world PvP world that might well translate over to the dungeon runs as well, I'm not sure, you'd have to tell me, is that, again, there's nothing wrong with being a newbie, there's nothing wrong with being bad. I'm just saying I've noticed that it seems to be a weaker player base than other servers I've played on in the past. I don't think that's a horrible thing to say. It's just I'm not saying you're bad for being bad. I'm just saying I have just noticed that it has been far easier to kill people as a warrior, no less, in this game than on other servers. I said to Marcus, I can't tell if I'm getting better or if this player base has taken a step back. It's a different group of players playing this one. Maybe the good players are over there doing the SOD thing. I don't know. Marcus, do you think that's a wild, fucked up thing to say, or have you noticed it too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to be that guy that echoes, but I 100% have noticed that. I guess I'm above average. I wouldn't say that I'm fantastic at PvP, but I'm above average. And the stuff I've been able to get away with on my shaman has been pretty wild, to be fair. And I'm actually a little bit concerned that I'll learn bad habits from not having to avoid interrupts and stuff like that. People are struggling with it, and I guess I'll take the opportunity to shout out to the Countdown community. I'm happy to spend as much time as needed with anyone who's interested in PvP to get them to a point where they're comfortable with PvP, because it is such a great part of the game. It's a small part, but it's a great part. And the more participation there is, the better it is for everyone, I believe.
I've had a wild time with PvP, and this is, I'll take it towards a positive here. The reason I bring up the point about the difference in player base this time around is, again, we had the post go out before the server launch saying, please, for the love of all that is holy, if you don't really love PvP, just stop, guys. Just we've been around the block enough times now. Roll on the PvE server. Do not roll on the PvP server if, you know, being a bit of a masochist isn't your thing, or if, you know, you're allowed to get angry, but if you quit because of PvP, then you probably shouldn't have rolled on the PvP server. Like, there will be shenanigans. Bitch and moan all you want, but fucking fight back. That's PvP. And I feel like I've seen a lot of people that already are regretting their decision. Again, it's just, it happens all the fucking time. That's where the population goes, so that's where I'll roll. I have fought a lot of people. I've PvP, like, I've probably done 12 hours of world PvP alone to this point, 10 days since the server launched. I've spent half a day of the last 10 days just world PvPing for no quests, no nothing, just going out and hunting people down. 10 hours of those 12 solo. I keep finding people that run away, that just run. And I've bitched about this on the show before, going like, brother, get off the PvP server. Just get off. Just stop. If I, a 31 warrior, run at you, a 32 paladin, there's no one else around us. There's no mobs. You're at 100% health. I'm at 100% health. You're not fighting a mob or anything. It's just me pointing at you. Let's do the showdown. If you then turn tail and start running, that's the, oh shit, I shouldn't be on this server moment. You don't know if I'm good. You don't know if I'm bad. You have literally stared at a 50-50 coin flip and you've said, no, not for me. The amount of times, and I mean a serious amount of times, I have chased after a player for them to run for 30 seconds, find another player of their faction and do the quickest U-turn you have ever seen in your life to come and get me in a 2-on-1 when I offered an incredibly fair 1-on-1 is amazing. It is, like, again, jaw-droppingly amazing. And I've had some very harsh words on stream for these players. And I've said it before on the podcast. If you refuse to PvP when you have anything less than a 99% win chance, you are a piece of shit. And people want to say, oh, I'm just playing smart. I'm a smart player. No, you're a fucking coward and a piece of shit, and you're rolling on the wrong server. Fight people. Fucking fight people. I'm bad at PvP. Then play on the PvE server. But I like PvP when there's 10 of us and 1 of them. So you're a piece of shit. Again, just my opinion. But if you run for, and I have friends that gank lobies. Marcus is one of them. We disagree on many things PvP. But I think the one thing that we do tend to agree on, and I'll throw Voodoo in the mix here because he says this too. He's with me on this one. If you want to gank lobies, fine. Go be a shithead. We'll disagree, but have a beer afterwards. If you want to grief people, fine. Go be a shithead, but we'll disagree and have a beer afterwards. But these guys that I know personally that kill lobies, that I tell them off for, they don't run from a 1-on-1. They don't run from a 2-on-2. They relish it. They go, fuck yeah, us two versus these two. Let's fucking go, Josh. And I go, fuck yeah, let's do this. We don't turn around and wait for 2 more of our faction to help us out to, like, you know, get the odds ever being in our favor. And those guys fight every fucking 1-on-1 they come across. Marcus, as much of a cunt as he is, will fight any cunt 1-on-1. Voodoo, even bigger cunt, will fight anyone 1-on-1. Don't care if you're 5 levels higher than me, let's fucking go. Let's rock and roll. I don't know if you're bad or good, we're about to find out. 2 men enter this ring, or a man and a woman enters this ring. Only one of us is going to come out, let's fucking find out who it is. That's PvP on a PvP server. Not you fucking cowards putting your tail between your legs and run. Oh, great. Now I've got a raid behind me. Let's stomp this one guy. The best content in the game is open world PvP. It is the best player-made content in the game. You create your own story every time you walk out into the open world. I have died 1,000 times already on this server. I don't think I have a small dick because of it. I've got a small dick regardless, but that's besides the point, Marcus. What needs to happen is you need to fucking fight. You're not less of a person for dying. You're less of a person for not trying. That's when people laugh at you. And the other thing that fucking gets me is, like I've screamed about on stream, I'll never understand. This is a part of gamer culture that's just gamer culture, and I'll never get it. The misapplication of emoting, where I'll kill a guy one-on-one, and then he'll come back and find me with 3 mates. They all one-shot me, and then I'll get the spam of the slash laugh and the slash dance. And I'm like, this guy thinks he's actually the winner here. And the emotes all over the place of like the parties of 3 steamrolling one player and teabagging and slash laughing. You celebrate when you earn a celebration. I don't go down to the fucking, local basketball court and dunk on 6-year-olds and then flex in front of them and go, fuck yeah, get that up here, dog. But gamers have no problem doing that. And it's always been the oddest thing in the world to me. And it's too, I get that friends of mine would say, Josh, they do it because literally they've upset you and they want to trigger you and you're giving them everything they want. Nonetheless, I still think it's weird. Gamers are such awkward social fucks at times that the misapplication of celebrations is just wild to see. But again, Marcus, I'm ranting. Have you seen it much?
Yeah, I copped it yesterday. Couple of guys. I seen them and they looked to move to engage me, 2 players. I'm like, I probably can't take this one, so I disengage, and then they found me later. In Desolus, my favorite place in the game, and just like kicked the shit out of me. And I mean, that's fine. It is what it is. But yeah, they done the whole dancing and skyding and stuff. I guess I was a bit higher level than them, and maybe they felt like they shouldn't have won that. But yeah, it was pretty fucking ordinary, to be honest.
Mate, I'm having the time of my life. The World PvP, I said to you, has saved this server for me. I'm having fun in PvE, I am, but the World PvP has absolutely saved this experience for me. While I'm rolling my eyes going, oh my God, 1 times vanilla experience. This is like fucking, pulling teeth. The World PvP is always the savior. I have been fighting everyone. I charge skulls. I don't give a fuck. I just don't care anymore. I'm regularly beating people 5 to 6 to 7 levels higher than me. I just don't give a fuck. It's on them. If they're not ready for it, if they don't know how to PvP, sorry, mate, that's your problem. Fucking let's fight and you learn. I'm still learning. I'm so average, but I'm learning. And every loss is a learning experience, and I fucking love it. I'll tell you a fun story about what happened to me at Thousand Needles the other day, if you guys haven't heard this one. There was a Warlock and a Paladin just terrorizing Shimmering Flats for a couple of hours the other day over on Night Slayer, one of the layers. I won't say their names, but, if you saw them, you saw them. They were inseparable. And I kept running into them. I bashed my head into that 2-on-1 wall 6 times. Couldn't kill them. I was just trying to separate them. I was like, if I can just get this fucking Warlock, who's clearly the weaker player, if I can just get him far enough away from this Paladin, maybe. And one time the Warlock overextended and I fucking had him, and the Paladin just got in there with the lay on hands like half a second before I hit the execute. I was spewing. I was fucking spewing because I knew I had both of these guys if I could get them alone. So I just ran around and fought these guys for an hour. Loss after loss after loss. They're laughing at me. They're like, look at this fucking idiot. What a noob. He thinks he can kill us. What a fuckstick. They're killing everyone. The general chat is just like, what is going on with this Paladin and this Lock? Could someone fucking do something? I finally, after about 2 hours, found a shaman, and he's gone, oh, keep an eye out for this paladin and lock. I said, mate, I'll do you one better than keeping an eye out. Can we go and hunt them down? And he goes, fuck yeah. And I was like, I love you. Let's go. So we go off and we find them. Unfortunate beginning where the shaman was in Ghost Wolf and massively overextended and started the fight 15 seconds before I arrived. So they killed him and then they killed me and we were ghosts. And I said, mate, I love the enthusiasm, but let's go in at the same time this time. And he goes, okay, that's probably a good idea. And the second these fucking pricks got a fair fight, where the shaman and I arrived at the same time, we go, right, you versus us, let's go. What do you fucking think happened? We towed them up. We fucking gave them the business. Neither of us died. Warlock goes down first. He was very average, repeatedly trying to fear me through Berserker Rage. Then the Paladin, who was the better player, but not that much better, goes down. Corpse camped them for 10 minutes. They refused to res. That's where I got really shitty, where I was like, you fucking losers. And this is where what I hate about the PvP bullies. You fucking losers have been running around for 2 hours just picking off loners everywhere. The second you got a fair fight, you rage quit. They didn't res. They went off, made dinner or something, just stopped playing the game for 10 minutes. They just walked away. They didn't do what I would do, which is res, try and run away, get off a fucking pot or a bandage and go, quick, let's try and fucking get them. You know what I mean? Or run away and try and regen or something. None of that. Just quit. They walked away. And that's indicative of a lot of fucking WoW players. And it gives me the fucking shits. Because so many players think that a PvP loss is an indication that they have a small dick in real life. Nobody cares. People will get upset with you if you don't fight. That's what people get upset about. Stop being a fucking pussy and going home with your toys and crying when you lose and fight more fair fights, please. Marcus, the size of my soapbox on this episode is like 50 stories high.
Yeah, it's a big one, but it's nice to hear that you got a taste of your own medicine with a bit of a Josh Corbett simulator overextended miles away from hell.
I know.
Behind a line of sight object, screaming for heals. But yeah, I mean, throw in, have a crack, and then you can get like some unexpected positivity. I mean, I tried it on with those two dudes in Desolus, but like they got me. I was in a weird spot. But just quitting, if it was me and you that was running around griefing everyone like that, I mean, we do that sometimes. It happens. We fight everyone we see.
We run around looking for packs. Like we will kill single players, but we're not like, hey, let's go to a zone for an hour and just kill individual players for an hour and make their lives hell. Most of the time, I don't know if you notice this, you see me not taking part, right? Like I let you guys do your thing and I just sit back in the back line doing nothing.
Correct. But like if we were to encounter a group, we immediately snap to talking about how we're going to deal with that group. We don't go, oh, it's a group, it's a larger threat, let's run away and hide. And if they do beat us, we talk about what we're going to do when we res. Not let's just log out and play a different character. That's pretty weak. And it's the kind of thing that turns people off PvP. It's not really what I'm about, I guess.
Yeah. Mate, I've still got a lot of PvP questions about the warrior. I've never PvP'd on a warrior before. This is all brand new to me. I'm really liking it. And I must say, it might just be a lower level thing. I know everyone gets more toys as they level up, but like the warriors get destroyed one-on-one bullshit that I've been fed for the last 6 years is exactly as I thought it would be and is drastically overstated. I am
Yeah,
getting wins.
yeah, you will. Like you just do a lot of physical damage, um, in a short period of time. You do a lot of work. Warriors do a lot of work, and like I've played with some really good warriors. Never played one myself. I've got like an understanding on how they work. Um, but like the good ones, they just launch into anything. And like I said to you the other night, like you fit that description. You launch in and you get the work done and pull out. And I mean, like a priest is always going to be a bad day. You're going to be rage starved. That sucks. And a mage is going to be a bad day. But I think you've got a pretty good chance, especially as like your skill level rises, of winning plenty of matchups.
Yeah, definitely 100%. If you're an aggressive PvP player, you're already up to chances. You win 50% more fights than the non-aggressive player. But
Correct.
also, the priest thing is really funny to me because mate, I've watched a lot of warrior PvP videos, and none of them. And don't get me wrong, this is all about warrior PvP at level 60, where you have Mortal Strike, right? But
Yeah.
I've never seen a mention, not that they would, about how priests are unkillable to a warrior pre-Mortal Strike. Like literally unkillable. They are God. They are scarier than mage. Well, not scarier, but as scary as mages. It's ridiculous. I was like, where was this warning? I can't generate any rage. They just heal. Like it's fucking bullshit. Like I fought 4 different priests in Shimmering Flats when this Warlock Paladin shit was happening, and all of them, like, to call it a decimation is an understatement. Like I wasn't even almost in these fights, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a bad priest. No, they literally just hit shield and laugh at you and do their thing.
Yeah, your health pool is low. For one, you're missing key parts of your toolkit, and you're rage starved. So a dot's just going to do disproportionately way more work, and wanding is just essentially a dot you can turn on and off. So they're just going to make fools out of you, because by the time you chop through their shield with your white hits, they'll just put another one up. I reckon you could probably get them if you got grubby, but you'd have to get grubby.
Yeah.
You'd need to jump them with weakened soul and stuff like that, which isn't really your jam. So not when you're 1v1 in anyway. If it's a big group fight, you'll just take what you can get.
Oh, fucking oath.
Yeah.
As Yubi makes a really good point in Discord chat, just saying, like, nobody ever talks about this, but PvP suffers exactly the same as PvE does in regards to meta. Everyone will tell you what a warlock should do on paper, so therefore he wins. But then in reality, you charge him and he spams fear while you're fear immune because they're a garbage player. No one ever factors in that 90% of players don't PvP how they should PvP because they're shit at it or they don't do it that often.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of different options you can take. There's a meta, and I guess it just makes for easy explanations to people. Like if this class attacks you, you do X, Y, and Z. But what if none of that works? I mean, you gotta be able to think on your feet a little bit and just like try things different. And I guess like I cut my teeth in PvP before like metas were fully solved and explained to everybody. So I tend to keep that outside the box thinking.
All right. Yeah, still, I'm working out all the openers. Like I said, I'm far from the fucking good warrior player yet. I make mistakes. And like I said, making mistakes is okay because then you'll learn. And I get that I'm here criticizing players who like don't know what the fuck they're doing, but like I equally don't know what I'm doing, but I'm being aggressive. I'm trying to think outside the box and playing the game of chess and mostly getting things right. But there's a few weird things. Like I'm still like, the rogue. What am I doing as my opener there? Is it rend? Is it disarm? Is it demo shout? Like I actually don't know what's technically bis to do on the rogue. Like, you charge in, You berserker stance straight away during the charge so that you can zerker rage when they gouge you. But then what's your first GCD if whether that gouge happens or not? I'm like, what do I do? I presume I disarm him straight away, which is what I normally do. But then I don't rend because I'm like, what's the point of rending? It does no damage, and I don't need the bleed to pull him out of stealth because I'm just going to demo shout him because he's going to be standing right next to me anyway.
Yeah. It all depends on what you're worried about, like what buttons you're worried about impressing. Like if he's got combo points up, you've taken a fair bit of damage, and you're worrying about like a big eviscerate or something that's going to wreck you, then bang, disarm. You know, like it all depends on the
Yeah.
situation and being able to make those snap decisions.
Fuck, I hadn't even thought of that. Disarm him later rather than earlier because he's got no combo points.
Yeah, I mean, a preemptive disarm can be like really clutch. Like if you anticipate a big front load of damage, and I guess this sort of really comes online in TBC. If you anticipate a big front load of damage, then bang, you just take that weapon away, and you don't have to worry about that for a bit.
Well, that's what I've been doing because you'll be with me on this one, Marcus. I'm really big. We just talked about how if you're an aggressive PvP player, like you'd be shocked at how many fights you'll win just by really being aggressive and going after people straight away, no questions asked, even higher level players. If you just catch them, and they'll, number one, be shocked that they got attacked. Number two, that they're being attacked by a player 6 levels lower than them. But I'm big on the psychology of PvP, where I'm like, not only do you get aggressive, but I like to play jazz sometimes and do things outside of the script so that, like, because a lot of WoW PvP is players just mindlessly following a script. Oh, I'm a mage. I Frost Nova now. Now I blink. Now I rank 1 Frostbolt. Now I full rank Frostbolt. And people say as soon as you throw them off their script, like a rogue, if you survive their full opener, their cheap shot into kidney, blind, whatever, and you survive, the script's been broken and now they don't know what to do. So it's important to play jazz, but also like I really like the reason I disarm the reason I've been disarming at the beginning of a fight is it's just so psychologically shocking. Like a player's just been charged and now they've lost their weapon as a melee character. 90% of them will be thinking, oh, well, it's all over. This is over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you will get a lot of people like that that'll just go, I don't know what buttons to press now. Instead of looking to disengage, reset, and like for the example of a rogue, if you put me on a rogue and Ubiquitous on a rogue, I'd probably go, what button do I press now if you disarm me at the start? Whereas Ubiquitous would be just looking to get away, reset, and then reopen once his weapon reappears. And then you're back at square one. So without that cooldown.
And sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I was just talking into like the aggression and that kind of thing as well. Like big aggression, like you said, 9 times out of 10 can win the day, or 50% of the time can win the day. But yeah, that other 50% of the time, oh boy, does it make you look silly.
But yeah, I mean, as Yubi's saying as well, like Yubi's like, oh, you got to just be wary of the rogue blinding you if you disarm. A good rogue will just blind you once you disarm them early. But again, back to the player base and people's comfort levels with PvP, mate, I've fought 20 rogues solo up to this point, and one of them has blinded me on the disarm. That's the rate of situational awareness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The other one with that is like the blind, to use the rogue and the warrior example. If you're worried about a blind, and like a defensive blind in particular, like you're in charge of that fight, pull a mob if it's world PvP. Like get aggro, because you get blinded, mob punches you, bang, you're out. What's rogue going to do? He's going to go, oh, this is weird. Like I don't have any more dirt to kick in your eye. There's other buttons that get around it, but man, you've still got that mob on you. You can't be gouged and you can't be blinded. So even though you're taking a little bit extra damage, as a warrior, you can pretty much handle it.
Mate, just a few more points to get through. We've probably got about another half an hour or so, but I think I've more than made up for my fucking abysmal effort the other day. We're 2 hours 40 minutes into this, and I think I've spoken for 2 hours and 30 of those minutes. But we're doing very well. Thank you again for coming along for the ride, mate. I just want to talk about look, just the server in general. Like I said, guys, I've been very negative through this podcast, and that is by design. I've just got a few home truths I've been wanting to get out there about how I feel about some of the players I encounter in this game, and I'm sorry if that's bummed you out, but I have no regrets saying what I said. But just to talk about the server a little bit, look, I have seen very few bots. They are out there, don't get me wrong. I've seen very few of them, but the gold buying does seem very much to be afoot. Reports already, gold is very cheap. You said, or Yubi said, day 6 he saw some bloke in full BOEs that would have been impossible it would have been impossible to buy, on your own at that stage. I remember I got into it with a Grend on hardcore launch back in, what was it, September of 23 or whatever, whenever the fuck hardcore first came out. And I saw a bloke on day 10 in purples, full BOE purples and blues, like stuff that was about 1,000 gold total on the auction house. And we were on like day 10 of the server. And I called them out on Twitter and I published their name, their character's name, and said, look at this fucking idiot. Look at this gold buyer. What a piece of shit. It's already happening in hardcore. And Agren didn't appreciate that and said, hey man, you don't know that guy bought gold. Like, we can't prove that. What are you doing? Don't like out him and his name. We don't know that guy bought gold. And I just said, sorry, I feel zero like compassion in this circumstance, and I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. And we do the thing where you can't prove it. You can't prove it. You're right. I can't prove it. But I also have fucking, educated suspicion. And like, I know that in real life, we don't exactly, I should know. I worked in the legal system. We don't exactly convict on educated guesses. It is beyond a reasonable doubt and all that shit. But guess what? This isn't fucking real life. This is a video game. And this guy's being a cunt, and the fucking burden of proof is whatever you want it to be. And I say it's on the fucking balance of probabilities, and it's very fucking probable this cunt bought gold. So I am calling him out publicly, and I don't care if he gets flamed. Oh, you're brigading. I don't give a shit. What do I care? He's a fucking piece of shit gold buyer. There should be a punishment and a deterrence to gold buying. Oh, but now some randos will send him mean messages. That's the fucking point. You should be deterred from doing this. Why do we go so far to protect the gold buyer? Because you can't prove it. I'm done. I'm fucking done. Anyway, we've already seen just a couple of weird things. Like you say, you saw your bloke in full BOEs that were a bit stinky the other day, and I, just stuff on the auction house is people are starting to notice is very oddly priced, and the guys who buy the gold are always the one going, actually, if you farmed this item for the last 72 hours straight, it's entirely feasible that you could have the amount of gold to buy this shit. And I'm like, yeah, cool. It is feasible, except you haven't been doing that because you've been fucking leveling the whole time, not stopping for 3 days to farm gold. And even if you were a fucking weirdo who stopped for 3 days to farm gold and stopped leveling to 60, you would not spend 100% of the gold that you farmed on fucking level 30 blues.
Yeah, no.
But they do the mental gymnastics. And actually, it's all fucking gold buyers trying to excuse and wave away their degenerate behavior. Actually, it's technically possible. Shut up, fuckwits. No one believes you. Anyway, the auction house has some weirdly priced items on it, and people are starting to post screenshots of like, fuck, that seems like very high for this item or that item. Nobody's, even the 60s, like who's got money at level, who's got Who's got 100 gold at level 45 for this BOE? And I'm just pulling arbitrary numbers out. I'm not saying I've seen something for 100 gold, but like, you know, high priced items. It's, you know, I've been saying this, I think, on the last server as well. Like, I've woken up to the fact that the gold buying industry gets involved in these servers and sets unrealistic prices in order to create a demand for gold. That's my, you know, whether you call it a conspiracy theory or not, that's what I believe to be true now. You would struggle to argue me off that corner, but if you want to, please try. Marcus, do you see some of these prices, and when you do the sideways head move and go, why the fuck is that so highly priced? Do you think it's just someone being a fuckwit, or do you think it is gold buying or not? Am I being weird?
It kind of makes sense. Like, they've got, it stands to reason that we understand that, like, the gold that we're buying, like the people buy, is coming from bots. It stands to reason those bots are farming stuff to make that gold, and they're going to have way more access to, like, the rarer items just like through like weight of numbers, because they've got bots like farming these things. So why not just whack it up there high? If they're controlling the market, throw it up there high. Someone's going to see that and go, oh man, how do I get that item? I have to buy some gold to get that item.
Yeah.
Or dump all my gold and not have my mount or dual spec.
Yubi's in chat saying, yep, they absolutely do this, and it's targeted items, you know, because some blues are just too common to monopolize, so they work other stuff and create a demand for gold buying in order to achieve the, you know, the purpose of getting this thing that you want. It's just, it's sad. It's a shame that, you know, I'm not going to go on a gold buying 2-hour monologue here, but just in 1 minute, I'm just going to say it bums me out how early gold buying infiltrates fresh servers, and it will perpetually bum me out the high percentage of players that rant and rave about how gold buying is horrible for MMOs and it shouldn't be in gaming and no pay to win and all that stuff. And half of those cunts screaming that are absolutely behind closed doors lining up to pay to win. It is, you dangle that carrot of an easy pay to win method in an MMO out to people, and they are fucking taking it. They are taking it. It's not that expensive to them, and they're like, thank you very much. I will now be the highest geared player out there who will destroy people in PvP and get my 99 passes, because that's what I need to survive, because I can't do anything in life without bragging about how good I am at a fucking World of Warcraft video game. Thank you very much. I'll pay what it takes to get there. I'm the greatest gamer alive. It happens so early, and it's so rife. I just get sad. I just, you know what? I wouldn't be sad if everyone shut the fuck up. If everyone just started saying how good is gold buying, oh my God, I hope there's gold buying in this game. I can't wait to pay to win. I hope if those comments were everywhere all over the forums, I wouldn't be sad. Oh, these guys all love pay to win, and you know, there's a clear shift to pay to win in the market, and everyone's on board. Okay, just do it. But you don't. You publicly bitch about it, then you privately fund the machine. So what do I do with you? I just get sad. So, yeah. Mates, I will say you were with us the other day, continuing to talk about the server and how it's looked so far. The World PvP event that was organised on Night Slayer the other day. Huge Taran Mill v South Shore. Let's go. Fucking 200 on 200. Let's fucking go, boys. Get everyone there. World PvP. Rah, rah, rah. Sadly came undone by layering. Now, an interesting little conversation about layering spawned from this. It was a bummer. It was a real bummer. I'm not going to gloss over the fact that it was a bummer. I would have loved, I was there to take part in the event. You guys were there with us. A lot of the guild was there with us. We were ready to rock and roll. Turns out we were on different layers, and like it seemed oddly even because of the new faction layering tech, the faction balance tech. we almost seem to be on different like sub layers. And we were joking about how like, oh, we're on layer 1.1 and they're on layer 1.2. Because I had people in my Twitch chat who, don't get me wrong, they could have just been pulling my leg, and, you know, the Alliance does the thing where let's tell them we're over here when we're actually raiding over there and we get the jump start on them. But I mean, these are listeners of mine who've been listening for fucking ages that have no reason to lie to me. They're not those kind of guys. And they were like telling me like, Josh, you're on layer 1. I'm on layer 1. I am standing on top of you and I cannot see you. I am with 100 Hordes right now here at Taran Mill, and you're with 100... Sorry, I'm with 100 Alliance players here at Taran Mill. There is 0 Horde. You are with 100 Horde standing at Taran Mill with 0 Alliance, and we're both on the same layer. Something's going on. And it's a shame that we did have to layer hop a fair bit, and eventually we managed to get on like layer 6 and everyone met up, and it was kind of all a little bit too little too late, but we got a little bit of mass world PvP in there. So that was a shame. And people were saying, look, whilst this event has been ruined a bit by the layering tech, it would be nice if there was some kind of like designated event layer where everyone could go and just be told that, hey, you're not going to get the protection of faction balancing on this layer. This is just where you can go if you want to do like a Taran Mill via South Shore or some shit like that. That would be fun. I don't know that it's possible. It's more likely not possible, but it just would be fun. But the thing that spawned from this, Marcus, was a lot of people got angry and said, you know, that's it. Can't we all just agree that the old way was the best way? Get a server of 5,000 people, no layers. That's how these servers should all be done in perpetuity going forward. I stopped at that point and I said, look, I know we all want to do the Blizz bad fuck layering thing like it's 2019, but it's not 2019 and everything's moved forward. We've moved forward. No one has bitched about layers in 5 years because we all understand the positive effects that they have. There are some negative effects. I'm not glossing over that, but the positive far outweighs the negative. So if your solution to this event going wrong is delete the layering system, I don't know where to take this conversation from here, because of all the things that deleting the layer system would do to the server that would be detrimental. Like it would, without layering, and I know they're saying obviously on, like, you know, if there's 100,000 people on this server, because they've got their new tech that can cram so many people on one server, obviously no layers would destroy this particular server. But their argument would be, well, let's just go back to the way it was. Let's do the 20 servers, no layers, 5,000 people per server thing. My response would be, we literally did that in 2019. Look where that got us. Servers die, one faction takes over, and all that shit. And if their retort were then to be, but Josh, we will adapt the faction locking and faction balancing tech and go back to old smaller servers with the faction balancing so that everything's okay. Cool. Except I feel like you could still get a scenario where for some reason your server is lower pop, one faction still somewhat turn into, like, you know, a 60-40 situation or something. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think that Blizzard's mega servers are the way of the future. And I know I'm singing a different tune, where in 2019 I was saying fuck mega servers. Guess what, guys? 5 years have passed. I've learnt a lot over that time, and I've changed my opinion and perspective. Guess what? You're allowed to change your opinions. No one, like, just because you said something 10 years ago doesn't mean you have to still think it now when you get new. It's the same thing now when you get new information. I flipped. I think mega servers are the right answer. And I was on this show saying, how good was your Jamba? 3,000 people, little community, brilliant. It was great when it was 3,000 people. The problem started when half those people quit, and now it's 1,500, right? That's why a mega server is good. It's layered to out the wazoo, and now it's, you know, 100 or 50,000 people. When half those people quit, you still got an amazing server. That doesn't happen on a smaller server. I think layering and mega servers are good things, and suggesting to delete layering because of this one Taran Mill v South Shore that you couldn't do, I'm sort of not here for it. And I know a lot of people want to say that mass world PvP is part of the beauty of the game, which it is. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we do it so often that we should delete layering for it. Tell me if I'm crazy, Marcus.
I think we'll end up with like what I hope to see is so whatever happened there, whether it was like so Ubiquitous mentioned the add-on could have been freaking out, or just not as accurate as we thought it was. Or it could be that like the layering tech just went wacko because it just wasn't really like they didn't anticipate this kind of. Well, they did anticipate it, but it didn't quite go as they expected. I was hoping that their server engineers and stuff would have like had a bit of a look at what was going on there and took the opportunity to learn. So then we can have a scenario where we have layers, we have massive servers. We've always got people to play the game with. We're able to navigate them in a way that's reasonable and fair for everybody else, and have these huge PvP events that are like iconic to what Classic is. And like, yeah, like, I'm pretty sure that like they would be having people looking at this, and they will have learned something from the data that they got from this event. So I don't really want people to be disheartened and think we can like it's an either or situation, because I feel like it will be. Let's have both. Let's make a way to have both.
So whilst we'll give Blizzard a slight rap over the knuckles for it's a shame that World PvP event fell apart, and as John's pointing out, like that's Josh, you're describing the sharding system. That's sharding. That's what fucked you. Fair enough. Layering, sharding, I don't know. It's all confusing to me, but I do know mostly what you're talking about, John. So whilst we've given them a rap over the knuckles for that one, I will give them a shout out. They deserve it for what I think was a very smooth launch. A lot of players pouring in on launch, and the first 5 minutes was like a bit jittery, and then it was all smooth from there. I think they deserve a big clap on the back for that. It went great. People sort of, again, we love to dunk on Blizzard in our pastime, in our spare time, sorry, but every launch since TBC Classic has been super smooth. Every launch, TBC Classic, Wrath Classic, Kata Classic, SOM, SOD, this one, everything super silky smooth. No one says, there's no fucking videos, no videos on YouTube about like, great job Blizzard, that was a good start to a fresh server. But if they'd fucked it, how many fucking angry, hate-filled clickbait videos would we gotten about, oh my God, these guys couldn't organize a route in a brothel, isn't this your job, blah, blah, blah. So let's throw them a bit of love when they do it right. Good job. Thank you. It was a great launch. And also, your new tech, this 50-50 faction balancing tech, it seems to be working. No one is saying, oh my God, there are so many horde on this fucking layer, I can't do anything. It's appeared incredibly balanced to me. All the zones I go to, it's great. Have you gotten the same feeling, Marcus?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's a bit off, but I then have a bit of a closer look. Because I remember what it was like inside, like some of those layers inside. There's just one horde, bro, and about 57,000 alliance dudes, and then there's another layer. Like for that layer to exist, there's another layer with the opposite going on. So I see all these red names in the distance, and I'm like, oh man, this layer seems pretty stacked. And then I have a closer look, and it's not really the case, or like there's a bit of an adjustment made by the technology. And things change pretty quickly. Like if it does get off kilter, a couple of groups roll in, it'll pull another couple of groups from somewhere. The other really fascinating thing was like I was like able to play at launch. I was in as people were spawning in, and you could feel the server chugging, and then it got better, it got better, it got better, and got better. It was really fascinating to see like that work. And just to feel it work, I guess, more than see it.
Mate, just one really quick note until we get to the last point. I alluded to this at the top, and settle down, Aussies. We're not going to fucking have a punch on here. I just want to say one thing about Maladath. Just the one point has come up to the forefront about Maladath, and that's obviously been like, play what you want. You know, the Aussies playing on the NA servers are having fun over there. The Aussies playing on the Aussie servers are having fun playing over there. And, you know, as Tito and Jay say, can't you just fucking leave us alone? Everyone's having fun. Why are you guys so fixated on what we're doing over here? Just everyone go have fun and do your own thing. Okay, cool. I do want to say, though, that I've got no drama. If you're the kind of player that happily signs up for, it's all good, I'll play on the 20 ping on OCE to start off with for a few months, and then I'll happily transfer over when we need to, if this server goes down the toilet in 6 months' time, to the NA server and play on 220 ping then. Okay, cool. That's great. At least I got a few months in of low ping during the best fun part of the game. Cool. I just have a question about that. And it's like, you're dialed in, you listen to podcasts, you know what's going to happen with this OCE server. And like, I'm not dooming on it. Like, play the OCE server if you want. It's got a healthy population. But it does seem like it's probably going down. The guys admit it's probably going down the path of, in a few months they will be merged, right? My question is, if you're plugged in and you listen to podcasts and you're on the up and up and you've done the OCE dance before and you're a countdown listener and you know that you'll probably be merged in a few months and you're ready for it, that's great. What about the player who's not plugged in? Do we start OCE servers, get the casual involved, and then bamboozle them with 6 months down the track, now you're playing on NA? I guess I'm asking, does it matter or not? I don't know the answer. But like, we've kind of... I've just seen a little bit of a romanticization of the concept of, it's a good thing to play on low ping for 6 months, then have your server break down, and then we'll happily move over to the new server in 6 months, no skin off anyone's back. But I'm like, doesn't that literally just happen inside? Don't guilds break down? Don't, like, you know, you form a guild, then you lose most of them, then you have to start and meet new friends, like the community aspect. You got to meet new people, forge new relationships. All the relationships you just spent 6 months building on your old server are mostly now down the toilet. And the casual player who doesn't do half the shit that you do because you're a fucking sweaty, like, they've woken up today and they're like, oh, what the fuck is this? I signed up for an OCE server. Now I've got 222 ping. Well, this game's just changed halfway through this server's lifecycle. I don't get it. I don't read forums. I don't listen to podcasts. I'm very confused. I just think it's I don't fully understand the take of, it's okay, let's just start OCE and then go NA and that's cool. I don't get it. Personally, like I said, I stand by what I said, and you OCE guys can hate me for this. I just criticized Blizzard for having OCE from the beginning. I don't think it's benefits the player base to have chaos thrown into the mix later down the track. The OCE server should not have existed from the get-go if it is going to be inevitable that it's wound up into NA later on. If the OCE server could survive by itself the whole life cycle, then great. This is a moot point. None of this matters. But we saw this coming, and it is now, like I said, being conceded that it's likely coming, that this one will wind down into NA eventually. I just don't... Someone will have to explain to me why that's cool. Why that's like a good thing. Oh, it's not a big drama. Then we'll just play on 220 ping. Yeah, but again, like guild, social, everything, like casual player. I just feel like there's so much more to it. So I'm not going to, that's all I wanted to say. I'm not going to turn this into a big thing. Do you understand what I'm saying, Marcus?
Yeah, I do. Just what made this particular like OCE server launch problematic for me was its timing of the announcement of it. I know that Blizzard gave themselves a really short window to, make these decisions, and there was other announcements that took time. But this one was problematic because people had locked in their friend groups, their guild groups, and all that kind of stuff. Like the OCE guys, okay, we've mentally prepared ourselves for this, and then the siren song begins of the OCE server, and not every sailor is going to fall for the siren song, and off the ones that fall for the siren song go, and then there's the ones that are left, and I was one of those guys who was left. I'm going to play on an NA server, but I just continually heard the siren song of the OCE server calling to me very loudly in those first few hours, and I could have been put in a situation where I made a mistake, and just not have enjoyed my time as much as I have playing on the US server. And I do believe, like, I'm not an IT guy or a server engineer, but
What?
there's got to
I
be
feel
a
like my
way-
whole life is a lie. Keep going.
There's got to be a way that we can have both in some sort of way, where we're just one server, but the OCE guys get their own layer that's hosted in Sydney, that interacts with the US server, and then we can then choose to move off that layer to look for players during our off-peak times if we're playing during an off-peak time. That is the way forward if it's not some kind of weird magic that's just not possible. Like, someone who's a lot smarter than me is going to have to tell me, like, man, you're just thinking about, like, alchemist levels of server engineering there. It's just not happening.
I would agree with that, and most people say that's a brilliant idea. Why can't Blizzard do that tech? There's some people think it literally already exists in the game. We go to NA battlegrounds, all that shit, blah blah blah. I agree that sounds like a great solution. My only issue, just slight tweak to what you said, is like the key there is that there is still some form of intermixing between the layers, because if you just had an OCE layer, what you would need to do is, in my opinion, you would need to have a general world layer that, hey, OCE guys, you might get higher ping while you're out in the open world questing. But if you get a dungeon or raid crew of OCE people, we'll throw you in an instance with the low ping, right? And but when you float out the concept of, but let's take it a step further. What if there was an OCE layer on the same server? Well, we still got the same situation, don't we? We're segregating the OCE players and they're not meeting the NA players socially, so that when the OCE layer then ceases to exist, we've literally just done the same thing. We've thrown them in with the American 6 months in and gone, go make new friends and go make new guilds.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I really hadn't thought that far ahead. I kind of just, for lack of a better term, pissed this one out into the ether, right, and just see if it would stick. And some people told me I was talking about sharding. I'm like, no, like, I'm talking about fucking layer. I do understand the difference, but yeah, like, it's important for us to, like, find other groups to play with as well, and just like guilds of Australia, like basically what we have here on this US server, but with the option of being able to, play at a lower ping where it really counts, like when you're doing content or whatever.
Don't stress, mate. I'm throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks as well. Welcome to the wonderful world of podcasting, mate. And you know what? If anyone says, if people like me jump on you and you go, actually, Marcus, that's not the case, you just reply with the firm, go fuck yourself. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, he's right. Mate, last point. Yeah. You're a fucking trooper, guys. We are 3 hours and 10 minutes almost into this chat. And, my voice will give out if I don't wind it up soon. But luckily for Marcus, I've only got 1 point left on my notepad here. But it's a chunky one, so let's just quickly dive into this before we go away for the day. Chronia raised a really interesting point in the Discord through the week, where there's been a lot of chat, and coming from me as well. I was rightfully called out on this one, going, Josh, you kept saying on the last episode that this server was advertised as being, an error server, like a no changes, a classic fresh, just like 2019. But in reality, that was not said. In fact, the opposite was said by Blizzard officially. The post, the official written announcement, the blue post about this server said that they would not follow a strict no changes policy. And whilst they wanted to mirror 2019 quite closely, there would be some deviation. So they flat out said straight away, this ain't your granddaddy's 2019 classic. Now, on the podcast, Jay rightfully pointed out, but what about a Gren's tweet? When this blue post went out over on Twitter, a Gren accompanied it with the following quote. Actual vanilla classic isn't for everyone, but there are a lot of people who love it. They've wanted this for a long time, and I'm glad we were able to give it to them. If Sod or Kata or Modern or something else entirely is your jam, you do you. So obviously the inference, it can be implied from the inference to be drawn from a Gren's statement there is that this is maybe, more 2019 vanilla classic. But if we're going full legalese, I would say there is some room for interpretation both ways in that statement because he doesn't necessarily nail it down. But I see where Jay and the guys are coming from. I would point to that blue post and go literally the official advertisement, the announcement of this server on their website saying, hey guys, we have a new server for you to play. Literally says this is not no changes. Literally says this is not 2019. So I think it's good that Cronia pointed this out and respect that this was our own interpretation. We created this semi out of nowhere. Okay, the Agren's tweet, but really the 1.12 for lifers kind of, and I got caught along with it, kind of created this thing that this was 2019 again when they looked us in the eye and said the opposite. So then when they started making changes, like they told us they would, 1.12 fans lost their collective shit. Dual spec, what do you fucking mean? Buff, debuff limit's gone, what do you fucking mean? They told us they were going to do this. But we either didn't see it or chose to ignore it and just wanted to live in the moment where it's no, this is 2019 again. So I actually think this is a really good clapback to the multiple times, not just from me, the multiple times on the last show that the words were uttered. This was advertised as a 2019 redo. No, it wasn't. No, it fucking wasn't. So there you go. I just think that's a really interesting one where I still think Blizzard made the right call for this server with the dual spec and the debuff limit and all that shit. And don't fucking get me started on instant mail. I am like a fucking pig in shit with this instant mail. I truly think they made the right call. And we're only 10 days into this server and I'm thank God they did it. Because I would fucking shudder to think what this server would look like right now without dual spec. What do you think, Marcus?
I think it'd be a lot more empty than it would be the perpetual fresh guys for 6 months and then they'd be screaming for another fresh. Man, the dual spec was kind of what steered me into rolling a shaman. It's a great change, a little quality of life thing that just makes things easier. The guild interface, I guess depends on what you like looking at. I mean, you can turn it off by default. It is off. I mean, it's on, so you can just turn it off real quick and you're back to the old way. But yeah, man, it was never said to be a exact replica of 2019. I felt like we moved away from no changes rolling into TBC. It's been a pretty steady move, but the people that are going to react negatively to any change at all are always going to react negatively, regardless of the context, I think. And again, I'll just poke the olive branch out there. Let's, like, instead of using those brains and like the knowledge of the game to try and glass each other in discords, perhaps we can try and find some common ground where we can, you know, make that next iteration of the game even better than what we have now.
Mate, it's one of those things where I don't know how to say this without, again, I'll just get called a doomer. I'm not trying to say this to convince people to not play the game or something. You know, I've said multiple times through the last 3.5 hours, I'm having a good time at the end of the day on this fresh server, and people should absolutely play it if they haven't fucking rolled already. But many of you have, and you're having a great time. But like I said, notable decrease in players from week 1 to week 2. And whilst I think like Night Slayer will be fine in 6 months' time, it's still going to be an interesting look in 6 months' time. And I'm going to say something that, you know, cannot be proven otherwise because it's a reality that never came to exist. So it's easy for me to say, but if they didn't do the dual spec and debuff limit change, in my heart of hearts, I truly believe these servers would have been fucking dead in 6 months' time. Absolutely dead. I just don't think... I think the 1.12 fatigue is real, and if we'd really gotten 1.12, fuck me, that would have been a bleak situation in 6 months' time.
Yeah, I think if there was like no SOD, and perhaps even no SOM, this would have really launched. But then, like, what have we been doing in the meantime? Playing Kata, I guess. But yeah, like those small changes just went a long way to like making it more relevant and a little bit, hopefully, like what I hope is happening is that this is a little bit more fit for purpose for what Blizzard may or may not have, and the Classic team may or may not have in store for us within sort of the next, 12 to 18 months. I think we'll get to TBC. We'll have a good, we'll get another resurgence of players in TBC, and like the game will be fine.
I'm calling it now. Classic Plus will launch in the summer of 25, and it won't matter that these fresh servers are winding down in popularity because the next big thing will come along to quote unquote save them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we've been conditioned for that over the past 20 years with the expansion rollouts. It's like 2 years and you've got a new big thing in World of Warcraft that drags you back. And that's fine.
Too true. Or I wonder if they're saving it for like November next year for their next BlizzCon or virtual BlizzCon, and then doing the whole you can play it in 2 weeks thing in November. It'd either be June, July, or November. But I feel like that's a tough one because then you'd have TBC Fresh and Classic Plus launching at the same time, which I don't think they'd probably want to do. So that's why I'm more picking summer. But we shall see. Just one last thing. Hot Dog, I love you. I love you, brother. But I don't think it's fair. I've always gotten on people. I don't think it's fair to do the blaming of the like, if all the OCE players played on the OCE realm, it'd be fine. It's let's start pointing the finger at the guys that rolled on the NA server. You're part of the problem. You should be here with us. Nah. Shutting down that argument because we literally did it in SOD. All the OCE blokes were on the same server in SOD, and what fucking happened there? Like we just lived this. I don't know why. I just kind of don't know why we keep having this discussion when we just lived the example. And everyone convinced themselves that this time would be different with OCE. I don't get it. But I'm not having a go at you personally. Love you, Hot Dog. I understand where you're coming from. Fucking Marcus, I think we made it. I think we did it, brother.
We did, I think. Yeah, I think we did.
Mate, what did we get to? 3 hours and 20 minutes. Fuck, you've just had to listen to me speak for like 3 hours. You poor bastard.
Oh, I mean, I've done it before. I mean, I found the podcast on a drive that was sort of like 4.5 hours, and I'm looking for like classic content podcasts that fit that description. And like, yeah, yours was it, man. Like just one podcast. I'm like, I just get to listen to one thing. Like that's pretty good. So I don't mind it.
I enjoyed the bloke in Twitch chat about 3 hours ago who would have stopped in for about a new bloke stopped in for about 2 minutes and goes, "Fuck, this cunt enjoys the sound of his own voice. What a loser." And it's literally the meme of like the guy in the gallows turning to the bloke next to him going, "First time." You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's exactly how I felt, and I'm like, I checked in the chat to see if he was still there, but like he'd slipped out.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
slipped
like,
out quickly.
Reasonable. He didn't understand what was going on.
No,
it was.
I'm not above being called a dickhead. I'm very aware that look, guys, I was a bit of a negative Nancy in this one. I'm very aware and cognizant of what I'm doing, but I would like to think that you listen to this show because I am brutally honest. Okay? Some of you don't like it when I'm positive towards Blizzard because you say I'm sucking their asshole. But I'm, saying the truth and honesty when it happens and patting them on the back when they deserve it. Equally, I give them a lot of shit sometimes when they deserve it. And I'm being truthful and honest. And I just get it out there. That's about Blizzard. In this episode, I turned the mirror towards the player base and got a little bit raw and honest about us, about you, about we as players. And yeah, I was negative, but I fucking called a spade a spade. And I'm sorry if I upset you, but I would like to think that you will continue to listen to this show because I don't hold back, because I speak my mind, because yeah, I'm aggressive, but I'm giving you my thoughts. I'm not saying what I think people want to hear. So I apologize if this was upsetting this one. I am having a fun time on this server, but I'm still going to get my observations out there, and this show will always continue to do that. Marcus, I've lost Marcus. He's rage quit for sure.
No, I'm still here, man. I'm still here.
All right, mate. Look, let's wind it up there. Thank you so much, stream. You guys are all the best. No Sugar, Ubiquitous, fucking Bunzo, the OG Pube Sniffer, your best mate, Marcus.
Oh, he's my boy, man.
He's the fucking king. Boy. He's the king. Gigantor, Zondo, everyone who fucking contributed. Scrolling through the Discord chat right now. Thick, you're a fucking legend. You're a gamer. Love you guys. Pangur, fucking OSV, all you legends that make this show happen. Voodoo, I love you.
There was a Wild Roo appearance as well.
There was a Wild Roo appearance. I think I'm having dinner with Voodoo and the fucking boy. Are you coming to dinner this Saturday night? Or are you away?
I won't be able to make it.
All right.
Because it's kind of just took too much time off recently. But
all good. We'll have you there in spirit, mate.
In spirit for sure.
All right. Bye, everyone. I will end the stream. See you guys. Love you.